This is Q Talk America.
The following broadcast contains adult humor, language, and topics, along with partial nudity. Actual knowledge is used sparingly. This show is a result of a lost bet and a bad game of rock, paper, scissors. It's The Show with Clayton McKee. And now, a man with a face for radio, Clayton McKee.
In spite of popular demand, we are here again on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday morning, depending on where you are located. Welcome to it. It's The Show with Clayton McKee. It's Q Talk America. I am that man, Clayton McKee, sitting alongside Kat Carlson and Al Perkins on this lovely, chilly evening in Arizona. Not.
I'm still riding my bike over.
Yes, but oh, geez.
It's not. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it happens.
I think it's maybe because I'm another year older than I was last season, and I haven't yet acclimated to it yet. I mean, I think I need a couple more weeks to get there.
Yeah, I needed more outdoor.
However,
like a pool or because usually, like if you're out in the pool and stuff, you kind of like ease into it. But
sure.
However, let me tell you, I spent the past 4 days in Thursday through Sunday in Missouri. Motherfuck. That is 98 degrees and 60% humidity. You're walking through water.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And the air is so thick. It's like you want somebody just to follow you around with an oxygen tank just for safety reasons. It's brutal.
Sometimes I think travel, see things, and then people go places and tell me how terrible it is. I think
I'll stay home in my air conditioner.
While I am looking forward to...
I think it's 78 degrees in my house. I don't see the problem.
Yeah, right.
So it's supposed to be, well, of course, now it's changing. But it's supposed to be sunny in the 80s the whole week that I'm in Niagara.
Okay. But the percentage of humidity is still...
66%. But it's currently cloudy.
Well, that's good.
But yesterday it was all like sunny, and today it's like, all right, well, there's going to be a thunderstorm. But there, it's not like here. It's not like when they say thunderstorm.
It rains mud and blows.
Yeah. There it could blow through. You know what I mean? It'll blow through. It's when they say like whole day of shit that you're like, all right.
I did get to enjoy the first night or the second night we were there? I've forgotten. I think it was the first night. As we rolled in, because we have to fly into Tulsa and then drive 2 hours into Missouri, into our hometown. The weather looked a little ominous to the north, and we were watching and everything. But late at night when we finally got to bed, it was wonderful because it was a thunderstorm and it rained like a son of a bitch. But it was just so nice to be able to lay in bed and just listen to it rain and thunder, like you know, kind of like in movies. You know, like it's a very nice rain. You know,
right.
Yeah, I got to have like a movie rain. Mom and I both enjoyed that from opposite ends of our family home back in Missouri. But God, I got up and looked out the window. It was astonishing how much rain there was. It was just, you couldn't even see the ground. There was some water everywhere.
And I'm always amazed when I go somewhere else and I just, especially going home to Niagara Falls, I just stare at the green. Like as we drive from the airport.
Because everything is so green. That was the first thing. It was so hard for me to get over when I moved from Salt Lake to the East Coast. You know, because we drove in the middle of the night and I, slept through part of it. It might have been a little high for a lot of it. So,
like you do.
I was young. It was a long drive. But yeah, we woke up the next morning and I looked around and I was like, who? And I asked, I was like, how do you water all of this? And they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, what do you mean, how do I water it? It just grows. We can't stop it.
Right. We can't stop it.
And we hate mowing it. Like, we don't do anything. It's so weird.
It is different places, different
and then,
issues.
Like magic. Poof, poof, poof.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, heaven sakes alive. Well, here we are. We've done it again, our show. This is 268 on the 28th of June, 2016. Marnie Ryer is not going to be with us tonight. She and Ernie decided to travel cross-country in whatever car they're in, and they just made it back into the valley. I guess just minutes ago, I got a text from Marnie, so she will not be with us, but we may be calling her in about an hour to get a little update for her as the show progresses. So that's what's going on.
And I thought Marmite in Florida was Marnie under some weird name.
But it is not.
It is not. So Marmite in I'm assuming Florida, FL?
Mm-hmm, I assume so.
Let us know what's going on.
Let us know who you are, how you identify, how'd you find us, if you're leaving us soon.
At what point it went too far.
Right. What better things you found to do.
Yeah. For your 3 hours of time on a Tuesday night. Oh, my gosh. So, Kat.
Clayton.
as we, this is our final show of is it season 4? Is that what we're calling it? Next year, season 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
or
very
next
nice.
next month. I'm sorry. So this
Sure.
is the final show of season 4. We're going to be off
Goodness.
for the month of July.
I don't know what I'm going to do with all my
So
time.
tell us what tell us what you've done in the past week and what you're projected to do, and then we'll check up with you when we get back.
That sounds amazing. Well, in the past week, I work. Really a lot of nothing. Our summer plans have really just devolved into watch a lot of TV and sometimes go in the pool because I feel bad that we watched 12 hours of television.
Okay.
So, especially when the kids are home, I'm like, 12 hours I feel like is enough. Let's go in the pool for half an hour and then we can come back in and watch more TV. Hashtag parenting.
Got it. Quality parenting.
But we did go on a little bit of a field trip. We know that I love to take the kids to theater, and the Value Theater was putting on a production of Disney's The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
It was actually really, really good. Those were some talented kids.
Did they do it on
some
roller
of the-
skates?
They did it on Heelys, which are the sneakers that have the one big
The wheel in them.
the wheel in the heel. And so they were all on Heelys, which was very cute.
That's cool.
That's cute, yeah.
So
So as they
swim
float around, right?
Right, so that they weren't just, stumping around.
Pretending they were flying through the water.
Do even in Valley Youth Theater, do even characters like Ursula get played by a child?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there might be one or two older.
I mean, there were some older kids, and I think the cutoff is like 20 or so.
Okay.
For Valley Youth Theater, so there were quite a few older kids. All of the Mermaid Sisters, they had a couple of numbers that were just delightful, and great singing kids and well acted kids, and
Oh, that's good.
yeah, we greatly enjoyed that. Even the boys enjoyed it, and I was kind of worried because my one kid is very determined
Right.
to be all things boy. Which is fine.
And the other one has short attention span theater.
Right, and the other one just bounces in his chair the whole time. Like, this is my kid watching a musical. The whole time. He loves it.
It'd be different if it was on rhythm. Like,
Right, yeah, if he was just dancing all, but no, he just can't sit still. And sometimes he'll curl up in the fetal position and crawl. Like, I can always tell when he's interested in the number and when he's not.
Okay. Fetal position interested or no?
Fetal position not interested.
Not
Like,
interested.
every ballad, he's like, oh.
I'm out.
Got it.
But then the big, like, Under the Sea comes up and it's got his attention and very fun. But that's I think the news for the week. So for the coming 4 weeks, I'm predicting probably just drinking.
Wow.
I see that on my horizon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because starting on Friday, my kids are gone for a week. And so next Tuesday, I've got no Sharon, no kids, nobody, no nothing to do. So I
Wow.
feel like a bar is in my future there.
Sure.
Because
Why
why
not?
not?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Nope.
And then
No arguments against.
Again,
Motion passed.
Nobody can find a reason not to.
All in favor?
So if you're in town, I'll call you.
Okay. Oh, I'll be here. I ain't going
Okay.
nowhere. No,
That'd
I'm
be
good.
nice.
I am
We'll go
good.
find some happy hour shenanigans.
Sure.
Yeah, and then later in the month, we're off to San Diego for a couple of days. We found the Airbnb spot right on the beach, so we'll go
That is going to
get
be
wonderfully
lovely.
sunburned.
Very exciting.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all.
San Diego just sounds like Nirvana right around this time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Maybe just an hour.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just go there, open up the car door, stick a foot out, and then come back and be like, all right, I saw it. I touched it.
I've considered more than once the California coast for just like an overnight. Just go, put my foot in the water, spend the night, come home in the morning.
I've actually done that for work before. I've driven straight there, done whatever, slept in the car, drove to the water just so I could see it, and then
Sure,
drove
'cause, I
straight
mean, if
back
you're
to
gonna be that
Phoenix.
close, you might
right.
as well.
If you're 2 miles from it, just go.
Yeah,
The hell.
completely.
Absolutely.
And we had one summer here. Oh, wrong place. We had one summer here a couple years ago where it was. I think I've said this story like 15 times. It was just relentless here, and it had started like in March, and by August for Harrison's graduation, I drove out there. I pulled up to the valet at the hotel I was staying at, opened the car door, and I was like, motherfucker. And the valet's like, excuse me? And I'm like, oh, it's gorgeous here. Like, I just wasn't expecting it to be 80 when I opened up the door. Like, LA was having a cooler summer than we were. And then a couple days later, we drove to, down to Huntington Beach. Mm-hmm. And as we came over the hill and it's Hermosa Beach with Long Beach right to the left.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Come over like this little hill and see the ocean, and Harrison was like, "Oh my God, the road! Watch the road!" So it's like, water. And then we all just
So
sat on
thirsty.
the beach. Yeah, we all just sat on the beach. Like my one friend was from Austin, and they had that terrible heat wave that had just raged on. Austin was actually hotter than us that whole summer, and they were miserable.
And humid
Yeah.
too, right?
So I mean, and we just sat on the beach and did nothing. And here we're
Justified.
thinking, because it was like 60 degrees or 65 degrees that day and kind of overcast, and we're like, oh my God, there's people in the water in winter.
Who are all the same people who just came from Phoenix over there going, fuck that.
Because day one we were like, oh, it's delightful and pretty. And day three I was like, I need like a coat, a blanket. Like I'm like downright cold now. That ocean breeze.
I'll find a time to go over there this summer, I'm sure, at some point. I'm not sure when, but we'll figure it out. Fortunately, if I go on the weekends, it doesn't interfere with this, so I can go in August when we're really tired of all this shit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's just work, and I'm just on this weird schedule. Like that's my crisis.
But
with
is it a weird schedule because you're leaving for weeks?
Yeah. No, it is me like cramming all the work into one part, and then a little bit of insomnia.
Yeah.
That I'm just on this weird like, oh, I want to do something, but oh no, I got to go back to bed. Like sleep for 3 hours, wake up for 3 hours, sleep for like the insomnia last week just kind of killed the whole show.
That makes me very unhappy when that
And
happens.
it was just. I watched a lot of fucking TV though. The good thing about insomnia is that cable's
that
right there to
DVR,
help me.
sure.
Yeah. All the money I spend on TV shows, cable, and other products pays off handsomely.
I'm not ready to renegotiate all that.
I think it's adorable that Aaron from LA thinks that Comic-Con is going to affect my plans in Mission Beach. I feel like
It
no.
really won't.
I think no.
Not at all. Especially if
'Cause
you
I'm-
have no interest in going to Comic-Con.
Right. A, I have no interest in going to Comic-Con. 2, I'm staying literally 10 steps from where I'm going to spend most of the week. Mm-hmm. You know, I've already done the Google Maps with the Google Earth and everything. There's a bar right around the corner that's delightful.
Oh, listen to
according
that.
to all the reviews.
That's good planning.
What's the
Yeah.
one that I recommended to you?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's a bar right over there. There's
Oh.
beach right in front of
With
me.
the
There's
really obvious
There's a
fucking name that I
roller
never
coaster
remember.
over there.
Beach on the water? Or bar on the water?
No, I mean, but it is something that's like high tide or pull up your shorts. The water's coming.
Yeah.
Baywatch the bar?
Yeah.
I appreciate your concern, Aaron, but I feel like we're gonna be fine.
Sure.
Because that's in Mission Bay, right? That's down. That's not Mission Bay, but it's in the harbor, right? Down probably by the convention center, I would imagine.
What, Comic-Con? I don't know.
It seems a good idea to put a convention in the convention center.
Again, not going to the metro area.
No, wait a minute.
Like, from here
yeah.
to Clinton's front yard is the beach.
Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, okay, so he's talking about Comic-Con in San Diego. Okay, I thought he was talking about LA. Now, I will chime in on that because, I just read it, duh. Oddly, a year ago, I was in San Diego at we typically stay at the Hilton Bayside when we go, which is wonderful because you can see all the water and it's lovely. But it's right next to the convention center, right across
Right
from
now, if
the
you're staying there, that's where you're going to run into
That sounds
everything.
terrible, yeah.
But it wasn't, most of them didn't, I don't think a lot of them stayed at the same hotel we were, but it was very busy in that convention center because all those people were there and you could see they're not protesters, that's the word I was looking for, but you can see all the people outside of the Comic-Con in all their costumes and walking around and doing all this stuff. It was quite
Like the
Enthusiast.
pickpockets
enthusiast.
and
It was-
Comic-Con enthusiast.
Yeah, the
Snake oil
pickpocket.
salesman-
It was very
salesman.
interesting to see that and then realize that that's what was going on next door the entire time we were there. And I think the reason we were there was for Pride last year, which I'm not going this year for that, so I won't be anywhere near or maybe Pride's already over. I don't know when the hell their Pride is.
But
I don't even know.
This is the real Comic-Con. Like
Sure.
everyone else has their
Oh, it started
their
there?
offsprings, but this is the one that they all talk about. Like this is the
Oh.
one where
The big
like
one.
we're gonna
Right on.
find out about movie reviews, new shows coming out. Like this is the one that the big names go to.
Sure.
Like not the red shirt guy that dies halfway through an
It
episode.
sounds delightful, and
Yeah.
I'm devastated that I'm going to miss it.
right. But
You realize he can see you.
yeah. But
I do. I'm quite certain he can hear the sarcasm.
I'm
in
gonna
my voice.
Probably so.
I'm gonna add like a new offended group of people. But I feel like the comic book people aren't really the beach people.
No.
I feel like no.
They might be roller coaster enthusiasts. I could see that group overlapping.
Ooh, I would enjoy that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
I haven't been on a
Strangely.
roller coaster in so long. I think I'm past due. I think it's time for me to go find a coaster of the roller type and climb aboard.
Don't go to Castles and Coasters. 'Cause
No, not a local one. No, I want to get out of the heat.
3 people got stuck at the top of that thing last week.
Got that notification at back.
Closer to the sun for baking purposes.
But if they were in the loop, though, they would have been upside down.
Yeah.
I don't know if where
Oh
they were.
God, have you ever seen that video where the people got stuck on it made it up to the top of the loop and stalled, and those people are dangling upside down for?
Well, I experienced it by watching it when I was opening DCA back in 2000. That happened during the testing of the roller coaster in Disney's California Adventure.
Oh,
And they were letting, like, part of the group that I was in, if we didn't have a project that day, they turned us loose. And one day we were happening walking through and they were testing it. It went zoop, and just stopped. And it took them 2.5 hours.
Or at the top of California Screaming, the big Mickey Mouse one.
Yes, it was.
No.
Is that what they call it?
I think it's
California Screaming. I think
I
that's
think
what
it's
called.
Screaming,
Yeah,
yeah.
but the upside down loop is where they got caught. Yeah. But,
I mean, that's all the money's worth you need.
no, but it was fun to watch. Like,
I know. And,
how are they
and,
going to do this?
My
Oh
friend
God.
Shane just put a video on for this like roller coaster water slide thing
no.
that has a giant like you slide down and then it lifts and you fall what looks like about 3 stories into a pool of cool, refreshing water.
My goodness.
It sounds a little bit like certain death.
It sounds like, well, because if you do it wrong, like falling into the water like that feels like concrete.
Oh, it can.
Yeah.
Belly flop.
You belly
Horrible.
flop that sounds terrible.
Very bad.
You know what doesn't get stuck at the top of the tracks and leave you stranded upside down?
The beach.
The bar around the corner. The beach in front of me.
Very good. Now,
Got it all planned out.
you yourself might get caught up somewhere
Well,
from the
sure.
beach, between the beach and the bar, but who cares?
Happened
It'll wear
before.
off later.
And just from personal experience, let me tell you what doesn't work. Telling your party, like maybe if we don't take showers today, we won't drink all day. Epic fail.
It doesn't
Not only did we not shower, but we were like
Now I've
9 hours
offended
into the
everyone at the
drinking
bar, right.
and we stink.
How did you ever think that was a good idea?
Because I was with girls and I thought that eventually they'd realize that the baseball cap with the unwashed hair would they would want to be, we were going to a straight mecca filled with men.
Oh, they
One of
want to
them
clean
is-
up and look presentable.
Right, and they were at the time they were both single. So I was like, all right, this is the way we'll do it. We'll go have Bloody Marys. We'll walk down to this bar that is
Yeah.
called like I'm here on the beach or something like that. And we met up with more people, and then we went and rode the roller coasters, and then we were all flirting with different people at different points and mingling. And finally, it was like, okay, this was just an epic fail because now we smell really bad, and we've been drinking all day.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that, God, in theory, it was on the right track, and it was really going to motivate people to stop the drinking at a certain point and go home and maybe practice good personal hygiene.
Nope.
No,
Didn't happen.
a spirited scrubbing, as I like to call it.
Spirited
Your
scrubbing.
heart was in the right place.
Because the day before, we got off the plane, found a place to park the car for the weekend because we were never going to drive again.
Right.
So we made a deal with somebody who owned
I
a
forgot
parking
to
lot.
Call the parking guy.
And then zippity-doo-dah-day, we were still drinking at 10:30 at night. We landed at about 9 in the morning.
Oh,
Hashtag doing it right.
And then
Hashtag
I passed out while the
vacation.
girl sat out in the patio of the house we rented, listening to country music and crying.
oh, well, that's what you do.
Well, I mean, that's an eventual end result.
Exactly. That's when you don't let me be in charge of the music.
We've all been there before.
now,
Yeah, yeah.
now your upcoming adventure back home. What are you in charge of for this one?
What am I in charge of?
Yeah, are you? What is this? What is this?
I
order?
don't get control of my own destiny till the the 16th
Oh.
or 17th is when I take over and get the rental car, and then it's
Whatever Al wants to.
ad libs. Yeah, Mad Libs. What are they called?
Whatever.
Mad Libs. are
Yeah,
very
but once
fun.
I land in Niagara Falls, I am the sole property of my sister. That's just the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do what I'm told.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never seen Al that does what he's told.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Interesting person. I'm sure. He's fun to be with.
Holy crap!
What'd you find?
Did you know this is totally unrelated? Google.
It's this show. It doesn't matter.
So I went to Google Maps to try and maybe easily find through my search history the place in San Diego
Right.
so I could find the restaurant, blah, 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 right? And I pull down the menu and I say, oh, my activity, that must be it. No, this is a detailed minute-to-minute accounting of everything that I've done on Google products all the time.
What?
Yesterday, 7:22 p.m., visited Google News, visited OneNote Web Clipper, 35 other items. Oh my God!
I looked up 37 things on Google.
Right. Visited Google Maps. 7:02. Search for Biodome, Arizona.
No, wait. What is this? What is it now? Google what?
Myactivity.google.com.
Okay. Stand on.
Freaking me out. I mean, I knew that they kept all this, but now it's in nice, easy note card format. I'm very busy. I'm only I've scrolled halfway down an entire screen and I'm only at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Whoa.
Well, you're a busy woman.
All right. We'll obsess about that later. Al, what have you been doing? Working? Nothing?
Well, I had the insomnia for like 4 days.
Ugh.
But it wasn't true insomnia, because every once in a while I would fall asleep for a couple hours. It just wasn't enough
Just
to
on
like
again, off again,
get in
on
the
again,
shower
off
and
again.
go get something done. It was
Sure.
all like, I guess I'll just lay here till the sleep comes back.
Right.
And then work just, and luckily I had gotten everything prepared for the traveling like a month ago, so everything's
good.
kind of ready. I just got to put all the things in the bag and decide that's it. And then, checking the weather. I know week 1's just going to be hot, so there's things that are not going in,
Right.
80 degrees and any kind of humidity, and there's no pants going in that bag. That's down. That's gone.
I haven't worn pants since April.
Yeah. But when you go, sometimes like a couple years ago, it was just downright cold when I was there. It was cold and rainy every day, and
Oh, sure.
Mama's a little sensitive to the cold.
I understand.
So
Yes.
there's that, and went and saw a really, really, really bizarre, unique movie the other day with my friend Kevin, and
What'd you see?
we saw The Lobster, and that was really unusual, very strange. It's I think it's a Danish director, and it's his first English language film, and it was really, really just interesting. And then just went back to work and had a really kind of, it's kind of summertime, and everybody's kind of like, not that I don't want to jinx it, but things are okay at work, and so it's
All
been
right.
Okay.
well, like, you never say it's quiet, you never say you're bored,
Right.
you never say I'm not busy, because then, like,
Right.
all
Then-
fucking hell breaks loose.
Exactly.
So I don't want to jinx them while I'm gone. But it's been nice. I had time to read almost the entire Supreme Court ruling yesterday, which
Okay.
and then part B to that is I'm not smart enough to read Supreme Court rulings.
No, I usually need somebody to kind of decipher that a little bit for
Yeah.
me, or read it in clauses.
And so at home, I would have had and it would have taken me 19 hours, because I would have highlighted every phrase I didn't understand and done define, and it would have taken me like 17 weeks. But here I was like,
Ain't nobody got time.
maybe
for
I'll get it out of context.
There you go.
Maybe context will give me clues. So that's been good. And then I literally just woke up. I washed my scrubs, and I needed to time it so I could get them in the dryer before I left for here, because the last time I neglected,
And then
had
they
a
smell
little
bad
stank.
forever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, but that's it. I mean, just not a very.
But you're
exciting...
not leaving here and going to work.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like, well, geez, she has to go home.
That wine says no.
Oh,
yeah,
you're right. The wine says-
just kind of winding it all down.
Gotcha. Good for you. Well, and you and I'll coordinate the what I need to do at your house while you're gone sort of a thing, because it's nice. It's easier to do it when you're not there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he interrupts me with
Feed the
show.
vicious guard dogs.
Well, that no, but she interrupts me with show
Polish the
tunes a lot.
guns.
Pay the armed guards.
She always wants to interrupt me with a show tune though when I'm painting or doing a little project for him.
Well,
Have you seen Barbara do this? Boom! Just sit down for a minute. Just sit down for a minute.
It motivates me when I'm trying to get stuff done.
that sounds good to me. I'm in.
Although if you
I'm
really want me to
sold.
clean something, you put on the Doobie Brothers, because then it's Pavlovian that I just have to.
Just
Oh.
all
Yeah.
right. It's good
Yes.
to
Taking it to the streets, and I'm instantly dusting something.
She's taking it somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
know. I think the Beach Boys does that for me.
No. That was-
Some of their songs, yeah, not all.
No,
'Cause
my
we-
mother was a big Beach Boys fan, so we listened to a lot of it.
Okay.
every Saturday morning, we had to clean the house when we got up. Like, we'd make breakfast.
We were the same way.
And then we had to clean the whole house, and everybody had their region, and you got to pick.
You have to vacuum.
You got to
have
pick an
do
album.
Oh,
dishes.
yeah.
My father always, I don't know what the fuck that was. My
Daughter?
father would clean in the basement, and he would do something down there, but we would always rotate out. So it was Carly Simon's greatest hits, Barbra Streisand's greatest hits, the Doobie Brothers, the Eagles' greatest. It was always the greatest hits package. And,
Sure. That way there's something
and
everybody
I picked
knows.
the living room because it was closest to the actual sound. But so I would always dance around, and we would all stop for, and here's Mrs. Perkins again in China Groove.
Oh, yes.
So when he says that, we get excited and have to pause, and
It's very cute.
yeah. Sing out, Louise.
Speaking of older music, when we were driving from Tulsa up to the on the turnpike, we were upgraded. I was very thrilled. I was all prepared. I'd rented the car. I was all prepared to drive a brand new Chevy Impala. I wanted to drive one. in the air, I get an alert that I had been upgraded.
Oh,
And I'm not going to say no to an upgrade.
Clearly.
We got a brand new Volkswagen. It's called a CC. I don't know what that is, but it's their 4-door luxury, top of the line, fucking phenomenal car.
Oh, wow.
It was beautiful, all black leather.
Renting
interior.
cars is what gets you the bug to buy a new
Well,
one.
that did that too.
Because then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this comes with lovely air
Oh my
conditioning.
goodness.
The
It
seat
does
is so
everything.
comfortable. The
Yeah.
sound system
Oh,
makes
and-
me never want to go to a concert
Exactly.
again.
Well, yeah.
did they get rid of the Passat in favor of this?
I don't know, but
it
it's
looks very nice.
Just look up, just like Volkswagen CC 2016 CC. It had 8,000 miles when we got it, and it had slightly more than that when we got done. But I did all of our driving, 1 tank of gas. It got great fuel mileage. It was a fun little car to drive.
Well,
but
it
it-
looks like it comes in a wagon format too.
Oh, I didn't need that one. But the cool, we had the Sirius XM radio. So on the way up, I had it on the 70s, and Mom and I sang many different songs together. And then I got to hear stories about how, I have this album, I had that album, I did this album, this. So it was kind of fun to have a little walk down memory lane with the music, just with that. And all of the albums that Mom was talking about are all in my living room in my vinyl collection, so I could play them anytime I'd want. So that was kind of fun. The other thing I realized while we were flying is we got an email. We as the show got an email, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And I know he's listening. If not live, he'll be listening on the repeat of the show. But I thought this was great, and I think we're going to go with this idea. It says, "Hi guys, my name is Joey. I live in Canada. I've been listening to you forever, before you even had webcams, and I love you all. Anyways, I drive coach bus and travel all over the place. I have millions of stories and opinions. I know you don't do interviews, but I was wondering if having a Canadian correspondent once a month might be of some interest. Maybe some fun. Maybe come with me on tour." Anyways, love y'all. Hope to hear from you soon. Feel free to check me out on the Facebooks. True listener with lots of pride, lots of gin, soda, and limes. Plenty of love. Yours truly, Joey Ferrusi, I guess. Ferusi. Joey Ferrusi. And I just thought, how fun. So I think we should probably call him once a month and have a traveling Canadian correspondent.
That's kind of funny.
Can tell us where he is, where he's going. But I haven't checked him out on the Facebooks or anything else. But we got that email, and I wanted to let him know we got it. Thought it was fun, Joey. We'll be in contact with you.
I just friend requested him.
Oh, Kat's already on it, so you're getting friend requests.
Lightning fast.
I missed the. I'm trying to follow this board and do.
I know there's a lot.
Too
Very
much.
busy.
There's no more going on this week than any other week. You're just not awake yet.
Well, no, but Marnie's not here to talk once in a while to give me a second to catch up. What? Where in Canada?
I didn't say from where.
Oh, okay.
Just says Canada. So I don't know exactly, but
Ontario, it looks like.
okay. So I thought that was kind of cool. Have a nice little.
Oh, and he has a kitty.
Oh, who doesn't have it? Well, he doesn't have a cat. Oh.
I clearly did not spell that right. So, anyways, we'll find it later.
Ferrusi.
Oh yeah, not even a little bit.
Dear Joey, now 5 people across the internet maybe face.
Yeah, you may be getting
Requesting
friend requests now from all kinds of
Look at
people.
the kitty.
Oh my God, it's in an oven. That's nice. No. No, it's not an oven.
Port Colborne, Ontario. I'm not sure what that is. Oh,
The cat
it's a
in the
cat.
oven.
It is very good, Al. You're very good.
You've passed the test.
You
Good
have.
work.
Oh, well, again,
Well, that means that Joey's a listener from the future then. Does it take
Yes.
us in podcast format? And
yeah. He's
fantastic.
been all
Oh,
over
and a
it for all
picture
this
of the
stuff.
bus.
Oh my God, there's a bus.
There is a bus.
Stand by. I gotta go. Now that I know there's a bus involved, a real bus.
Yeah. it's-
Oh, he's from Fort Erie, where we used to have to go to gamble before gambling was everywhere in the States.
Oh, where the hell's my little thing? Oh, here we go. Boom.
I am familiar with the Fort Erie.
It's
Oh.
very exciting. Can't wait for him to send us messages and things from the future.
From the future.
I was listening to our show from the future this week a little bit.
Well, I think we're going to do a
Very
little bit of
amused.
spoilers today. So
Which is the.
we'll say it and then listen to it in the future when you've caught up with the Orange is the New Black, because I think we
Oh,
need to
yes. Yes.
Although Bag of Nope isn't here to join in on the therapy, but
That's all right.
Which.
but Amina is all caught up and
She
ready
could
for her
also
therapy
listen
lesson.
from the future. It'll
Which
be fine.
profile picture is it? Because I
Oh no,
come
it's
up
his
with,
Stand
main
by.
picture in the page.
I come up with.
The big,
Oh, I needed the profile picture, not
got
the
that
cover.
guy.
That's the one. Got it.
Oh,
He drives what? Oh, I'm gonna be in good friends with this guy.
We love
It's
you
not a silver-
already.
it's
can I
not a
come ride your bus, baby?
It's not a silver eagle, but we'll get
Can
you
we
there,
forever
Joey.
refer to you as Joey from the future?
Joey Ferrusi.
I'm in.
From the future.
Jenny from the block. Meet Joey from,
From the future.
Oh, very good.
You'll be good friends. You're in good hands, girl.
With Joey Ferrusi.
I love it.
Yes. Well, like we said earlier, it is the final show of season 4. We're going to take a little break for the month of July. We'll be back August 2nd. So you'll have plenty of time to catch up on any of the shows that you've missed because they'll all be posted and done and online for you. And then in the future, we'll be back and we'll go on and things will happen. And Marnie might even be in town for that. Who knows? We'll figure it all out.
Some of us might even show up occasionally.
We do. Where the fuck did she go?
They flew. Remember our last show?
Uh-huh.
Okay. The next day, they got up and flew to Minneapolis, St. Paul. Mm-hmm. I don't know what or where these items were coming from, but they loaded a rental car with shit and then drove back cross country going down through like Tennessee and across Arkansas and then Oklahoma. They went all over the fucking place. I don't know why.
Did someone die?
Well, I think it's stuff from Marnie's grandparents' house from years ago when they passed away.
Sure.
I think because the car that Erin has, the Buick, that's her grandparents' car.
Well, that's logical conclusions coming together.
So something to that effect. I don't know, but I don't know what the hell.
I remember the thing up to get the car to bring it down here.
Yeah, they were in Nashville.
But it was one of those things where she said she was going to Michigan, but then all of a sudden she was in like Arkansas.
Yeah, no, they were all over.
Are you lost? Did
all
you
over.
not?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why you would take the southern route home in the summer.
Right.
Because
like, why wouldn't you?
Erin
across 80
wanted to come see
right.
stuff, I guess.
And that's true. Like,
I guess, sure.
Because I think they came across 40.
Right. Yeah. Well, because you have two options really. You come across 40 or you come across 80.
Or you go down south, you come across 10 if it's in the winter.
Right.
But not. This isn't obviously winter, but
yeah.
Anyway, so that's what they're
But
doing.
if you've already one drive,
that's fair.
The drive to and from Seattle I've done a few times, and we've done it a couple different ways just to see different stuff.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Plus one 9-hour trip on the Pacific Coast Highway, and check that off the bucket list. Yeah.
That's what I've heard. I've never done it.
Well, we're going to see if we can get through some, what do you call them? Headline stories. We've all got a few stories here, but before we get to that, we're going to take this little break for our sponsor tonight for the I guess, the middle of this hour, whatever it is. Enjoy this. We'll be back in just a minute. It's Q Talk America.
I was skeptical about anything that was on the internet.
Too risky. No, thank you.
At Settling.com, we realize how gross the concept of being single can be. We have a scientific system that's going to help you find somebody. Doesn't matter who? Well, of course not. The main thing is you're not single anymore. And that's what's important.
We have our off days, but it's better than nothing.
I was thinking maybe Chinese food tonight.
You know, I don't like You know what? Yeah, okay, sure.
At Settling.com, you settle. We match you with someone, anyone, literally the nearest single Settling.com member as quickly as possible. You're gonna be so happy. Well, maybe not happy, but you're not gonna be sad.
I mean, whatever.
Who I found on Settling.com is not exactly who I pictured in my head.
Did you know that sea turtles actually only breed 3 times in a decade? All my friends are married, and I don't want to feel left out, so it works.
Yep. I've never been single before. The concept terrifies me. Could be worse.
It could definitely be worse.
Who needs to be happy?
Yeah, it's overrated.
It's not for everyone.
Push that crushing feeling of loneliness into the corners of your mind. Settling.com.
You're listening to Q Talk America.
And now, we dance.
This is the Q Talk America Radio Network.
I got so wrapped up into that, I'm not even ready to do what we need to do. How the hell does that happen? I don't know. It's all works out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's headlines. Let's get through it. Holy crap. Well, county clerks receive a smackdown. Whoop, how about try that? What the hell's wrong with you? What'd you do? Mike Huckabee receives a smackdown as well. Bird becomes witness to murder. What the hell is she saying? And a bunch of passive-aggressive winners if we get to it. We got plenty of time. Al just got back from going to the kitchen, and we're going to fix Kat's microphone. Oh. Now what the... Now what?
Check
What
two. I did nothing. I stood up. I went and got beer.
What happened? I didn't hit... What in the hell? You stood up and went and got beer.
That's it.
I can take this off. Hang on, we can't go any further until we fix this.
Is it loose or?
Al's mic's on.
I checked.
Nothing has changed. Now plug it back in.
Yeah. Is your unit currently plugged in?
I've tried to reboot.
That's really weird.
I have no things. Are you sure I'm not on the morning slider?
No, you're on the cat slider.
Try.
You're not on it? No.
It's so weird.
Because I relabeled them.
Try muting me and unmuting me. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's a lot of fun noises.
I know. That was a lot of noise.
I think you got to move over there.
That's
I think you got to move over, Mike.
We're just gonna actually. Can you?
Want me to slide over that
Oh no, you don't do inconvenient. You want just? Can we just swap them? I mean, you can try. That one's this one. Let's try that.
Look, I could be dual mic'd. Yeah, that'll do fine.
Can you make that work?
I can make it work. Yeah.
That means it's a technical.
Okay. Please refer to the sign. I would like to point out that I sit here every week and didn't know there was a permanently placed fifth microphone.
That's been over a year.
Do you know that just occurred to me too? I'm like, wait.
No, wait a minute.
I thought we used to have just a standalone.
Do you know?
I just thought it was like witchcraft and voodoo. They got the
no,
person
because
that's
we
there to
installed
talk.
it because I refused to leave when Katie Drew came.
Right,
back,
you were going to be the fifth wheel, and then Katie's like, "I gotta go," and then we just left it there, and it's become the default mic for guests.
Yeah, I just never realized it sat there.
And apparently my new mic. Now that I've ruined it.
Well, I don't know what
I'm
happened.
not sure what I've done.
I also don't notice stuff. So
We'll figure it out.
I think we've learned that over the years.
In charge of noticing stuff.
We'll see.
see.
Well, a federal judge on Monday ruled that Mississippi's new law that allows county clerks to rescue themselves from issuing marriage licenses based on their, quote, religious beliefs was effectively an impermissible attempt to get around the Supreme Court's marriage decision. The Supreme Court's the Obergefell versus Hodges ruling will be enforced. U.S. District Judge Carlton Reeves wrote in his ruling, referring to the landmark Supreme Court ruling last year, the ruling prevents the state of Mississippi from allowing parts of HB 1523, the so-called religious freedom law, from taking effect Friday. This means no circuit clerk or staff member clerk can deny a gay couple a marriage license, even if House Bill 1523 is in effect. So basically, all that little woman did down there in Mississippi, she did it.
She was in Kentucky.
Kentucky. She got all of that done, but it all got slapped down. You cannot do that if you are an elected official. You're a county clerk. You cannot do anything based on your religious beliefs. That's your job.
And one of the
well, and it's discrimination because you have to treat gay couples the same as straight couples.
Right.
That's where they're getting at it with the legalese, because now you're again discriminating against one section of people.
Right.
You have to treat all marriage licenses equally.
Right, they're just licenses. It's all there.
No.
They're not gay licenses, they're not straight. It's like there's no gay wedding anymore. They're all just weddings.
Also included in his ruling, he did say that Mississippi's elected officials may disagree with the Obergefell decision, and of course may express that disagreement as they see fit by advocating for a constitutional amendment to overturn the decision, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead and advocate for that. Go ahead, just go right on to Washington and do that.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. That would be fine. But no, that's fantastic news. But that doesn't strike down the whole law. That's only county clerks issuing marriage licenses.
right.
Other people in other jobs with deeply held religious beliefs can still discriminate against people according to this law in Mississippi.
But the county, because that's who they were suing for. They were suing that specific party.
Right.
The one funny thing in the ruling is the federal judges said, we are not going to do, like, they kind of gave them a smackdown to a 5-year-old. They're like, we're not going to do this every time you all meet for a session.
This will not be adjudicated every
Again,
session.
every session. You're not going to pass a new law saying it's okay so we can go through this again. So he gives them the smackdown, which if this case goes up to the Supreme Court, that's kind of a nice little coda there to that thing to say, stop doing
being
this.
creative. Yeah,
Stop being
finding
dicks.
new ways to legislate.
Don't be an
the hate.
asshole. Don't
Yeah.
be an asshole. Yeah. There's that. Well, piggybacking that story, one of Kim Davis's good friends, we all remember Mr. Mike Huckabee, don't we?
Oh,
God,
yeah.
he's a good time. Well, he got
Friend
smacked.
of pedophiles.
Yes, and he got smacked down too this week. I'm very happy to hear this. Now, some of you may recall during all of those little triumphants when she got out of jail, after she was in jail for those few days and all that kind of stuff. Remember this song?
Oh, yes.
Well, it turns out that Mike Huckabee is being forced to pay $25,000 in fines after settling out of court with the rock group Survivor after the former presidential candidate used the band's Eye of the Tiger song without permission. In 2015, the White House hopeful held a rally for Kim Davis, the controversial Kentucky clerk who was briefly jailed for refusing to allow same-sex couples marriage licenses. See our first story. On September 8th, Davis was released after 5 days behind bars. Huckabee celebrated the occasion with supporters on the steps of the Rowan County Detention Center to the tune of the famous anthem from Rocky III, the 1982 entry into the series of the boxing movie starring Sylvester Stallone. Survivor lead guitarist Frankie Sullivan, who co-wrote the song, stated that they did so without prior authorization from the band. Quote, "We did not grant Kim Davis any right to use the Eye of the Tiger," Sullivan posted on Facebook. "I would not grant her the rights to use Charmin," he said. Sullivan hinted that there would be legal repercussions, and the resulting suit was uncovered Monday by CNN, who noted that Huckabee listed the settlement as, quote, "a campaign expense on the federal elections records." In a June 20 filing this year, Huckabee, who is still settling up his campaign debts, had to pay off the fee in 2 installments. The one-time Fox News personality and former governor of Arkansas attempted to argue that he was well within his rights to use that song. In court, his lawyers maintained that the infraction was de minimis, or so trivial that it would cause minimal harm to the injured party, and that it should be considered fair to use the so-called would be fair to use the song in the so-called religious nature of the gathering. Religious nature, my ass.
Right, yeah, that... Crickets.
The argument fell apart when the songwriter's lawyer pointed out that Huckabee's claimed the rally as a presidential campaign expense. It had nothing to do with that.
Can't have it both ways, friend. Was it a tent revival or was it a campaign event?
Oh, I thought that was great when I saw that, because we had talked about there was a report that came out that said he was going to be fined for it, and then like a week later there was another report that said it wasn't gonna happen, and that was over a year ago, however long ago this was.
Yeah.
And then when I guess CNN just uncovered that, so it was brewing underneath the little.
And it was 2 payments made. They did 220 because the campaign went broke. One of the reasons that Huckabee dropped out of the race is because he ran out of money really fast. So then they tried to say, we don't have the money to pay this.
Mm-hmm.
That the campaign is broke. They're like, well, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
Like, you violated this. You got a cease and desist order, and you know.
Right.
Like,
Cough it up, mister.
And so they had to pay them, and it says, and then they said they didn't pay it, but then of course somebody got their campaign record, their financial records, and one was to the publisher was $25,000. They paid it in 2 installments. So one was $25,000 to them, and the other one was written off as debts. It said like debts and past due bills or something. That's how they paid the other $25,000. So they had a little bit.
Oh wait,
of fun
so there
in the
were
paper.
2 $25,000 payments.
Yeah, it was $50,000. Either that or it was $12.50 and $12.50.
I think 12 because this just says $25,000 in fines.
But so it was just funny. And then if you watch Veep, as Jonah has been running his congressional campaign, and because none of the jokes in that show are like ever said as jokes, it's always in the background. And Richard, that's like following along and mumbling and bumbling, is like, what's on the agenda? And as he reads through the stuff, he's like, and the letters from Tom Petty are just getting angrier. There's 3 episodes before they had played a Tom Petty song.
That's
just
enjoyable.
as casually, and you just had to be paying attention to get to the letters from Tom Petty are just getting angrier.
That's funny. That is enjoyable.
Oh.
One of these days, I feel like I'm going to be smart enough to binge that up.
just be ready to pee a little bit, because I mean there
I'm
are
excited.
parts of it that are they're just not right.
I'll put down plastic.
And especially, I mean,
Nice. That's good.
I'll be prepared.
Nice.
especially since the whole first thing is about plastics. That's what I thought. I thought you were making a joke about it being about
Oh,
plastics.
no.
Oh no.
Speaking of plastic, though, in Fort Walton Beach, a man who woke up naked in a stranger's house late Monday morning, A, should have put down plastic, and 2, is unlikely to face criminal charges, according to the officer who found him there. How did he get there, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. The man, whose name has not been released, was discovered in a house hours after his car was towed from a nearby town. The Fort Walton Beach police officer, Marcus Montgomery, was in the kitchen with the homeowner discussing the car found in the bay. They live on, I didn't want to try and say it, but now I'm going to try and say it. Choctawhatchee Bay.
Oh, very good. Very
I'm going
good.
to go with that.
Yeah, I'm going to give it
It
to you.
feels very Floridian.
Hey, maybe Marmaduke or what's the
Marmite.
name? Marmite.
It's a spread like Vegemite.
Oh, okay. Maybe Marmite can tell us the correct
Oh,
pronunciation.
did Marmite come back after we said hello?
Yeah.
No, sure.
Oh, that's nice.
Why wouldn't you?
In any event, so the police officer standing in the kitchen of this house discussing a car that's been found nearby when a man appeared wrapped in a towel. He says, "Hi, I'm Joe, and I have no idea where I'm at right now."
But he knew his name. That's good. That's a good start.
That's good. The officer goes on to say he kept saying how he didn't know where he was and he didn't know how he got inside the house, and he also didn't know where his car was. A neighbor had spotted the man's clothes drying on a fence when the car was being recovered. The homeowner was out of town at the time, and her neighbor had checked on the house after the car was found, but all the doors were locked, he said. When the homeowner returned, a police officer went to speak to her about looking at security camera footage of her yard. As she was looking at the manual to try and figure out how to look at her security footage, they hear a clicking noise, look down the hallway, and there he is, lost and naked.
Okay.
I'm Joe.
Hi, I'm Joe. I have no clothes, and I don't know where I am.
Yeah, apparently he'd been out Sunday night celebrating his team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, winning the Stanley Cup. His girlfriend called in a missing persons report when he didn't come home. His car was found 100 yards offshore in water so shallow the tow truck driver walked out to it and hooked it up to tow it in. Yep.
Yeah.
But here's the best part. Police officers say that there aren't any criminal charges that can be filed.
Why?
Well, there's no signs of forced entry. Nothing was taken from the home. He can't prove he was driving the vehicle. Didn't observe him drunk driving.
What about the footage? Was there any camera footage of anything?
The only thing they could charge him with would be trespassing, and that's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
That's it.
Wonder how the hell he got in the house.
No criminal mischief.
Oh, no.
You got to at least go for that.
No criminal mischief. That's sad.
No record of an attorney.
Gotcha. That's fair. Oh, my gosh. Well, all right.
Huh?
Go-
Hi, I'm Joe, and I don't know where I
Good
am.
for you,
Yeah.
Joe. Got off the.
Hi, Joe.
Got it.
We've all been there, Joe.
Well, no, not really. I've never awakened in a house that I didn't know with no
Well,
clothes.
not by myself, no.
Oh, that was the clarification.
Yeah.
My bad. Now Al, did you have a story to share, or shall I go on?
Well, yeah. I had that,
That was really confirming.
Sure.
Sure, I got something. What the hell? As he flicks through links on
That's
his.
my favorite question and answer tactic, by the way. When asked an or question, answer yes or no.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where this article went. It turns out I copied the wrong thing. But it's at slate.com, so let's go to slate.com and see if we can find it. Oh, it's right here.
Oh, convenient.
So the women take over. Now, there was
I
a
love
big
this
ruling.
one. I read this one.
5-3 against a big smackdown of the state of Texas
Yes.
and their bullshit ruling about turning abortion clinics into surgical
Thank
centers and making
God.
sure that the doctors on staff had
No.
All kinds of crazy.
admitting privileges to a
Right.
hospital within 30
Right.
miles.
They had to have hallways wide,
Wide
enough
enough
to
for
like
gurneys.
run 4 gurneys down. And the effects of all of these regulations was that all but I think 3 abortion clinics in the whole state of Texas
I
ended
think it
up
was
closing.
7.
Sure.
And it left them with like someone having to drive longer than the state of California
No.
to get
Anyone
to a
who's
clinic.
driven across any portion of Texas knows There should probably be more than 7 clinics for all of Texas.
And since people were saying, well, they should be trying birth control pills, we're like, well, you also just shut down the place that offers birth control pills. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that got grandfathered out of these upgrades to surgical centers was colonoscopies. I had them all down. I had them all memorized. It was colonoscopies was one of them. Some kinds of liposuction that are done in surgical centers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're done, and they have way more complications than does this, because many medical abortions are just you take a pill one day, you take a pill the next day, and you do it at home.
Oh.
They were making the people stay overnight and come back to the clinic, so they did it in front of someone when the actual miscarriage takes place a couple days later after the pill.
Right.
So you would be nowhere near this.
And it's 2 doses. You take it 2 separate days. So not only do you have to go and take the pill in front of someone, then you have to go home and then come back another day
Oh.
to take
so
the
if
second
I've
pill.
traveled 300 miles to get to you,
Right.
that's burden number 1. Now I have to either travel back to you again,
or get a
or
hotel
get a
room or find
hotel,
somewhere to
right.
stay. So, and like one of the arguments was that the people on the west side of Texas could just go to New Mexico, and they said, well, they don't have your same standards. So aren't you saying that women have to go somewhere that aren't getting what you're saying is essential care? Aren't you forcing them to do something you're right here in front of us saying is not right? So what makes it different? And what the fuck is wrong with my finger? No, every time I touch the screen, it
words, the
changes
many
the page.
words.
Yeah. So when the Supreme Court last heard oral arguments in a landmark case like this, it was Planned Parenthood v. Casey, and Sandra Day O'Connor was the lone female justice. 24 years later, there are 3 women on the court, and if you count Justice Stephen Breyer as one of the history's great feminists, and this author does, then you can view the arguments in this team's landmark abortion case, Whole Women's Health versus Heller's Debt, as creating a neat 4-4 split. And this article is kind of funny, and I was worried about because of how it was presented to me. Somebody had put on my page, you need to read the article where Justice Roberts had a hard time reining in the 3 female justices. And I don't know why, but I was just
that felt
a
really
little
like
sexist
and why are you picking on the bitchy women?
Or why do you have to rein people in?
Right.
So then I read the article, and it really
because they blew time limits out of the water. When you argue in front of the Supreme Court, you have this much time. That's it.
Make your case, be done.
Right. And justices ask their questions, but really for each person who's...
And their questions are supposed to take away from your time to present.
Yeah. So you have
Yeah.
you have this much time to make your case and to answer questions, and that's it. They don't want this to go on forever. They don't extend time. This is the Supreme Court. Have your shit together or get out. And so I'm sorry to shit on your story,
No.
The justices were just waving off Roberts, like Roberts is trying to move on, trying to say this is time, we don't have any more time for this. And Notorious
RBG
and Keller. Anyway, and
because
who's the other woman? Anyway,
Sotomayor
they're all
and Kagan.
And Kagan, thank you. And they're just asking questions and just waving him off, like no. Sit down, John.
Yeah, you fat motherfucker.
Hamilton. Still.
Yeah.
Still alive.
So, and they really got it done. So it's a very interesting thing of how pointed their questions were, how they took it apart piece by piece. The argument from the, and one of the interesting things to read is I tried to read the whole thing. I didn't understand a lot of it, but the dissent that was written by Alito and I think Clarence Thomas also had something to say. Like he wanted to make sure that he got his own opinion in the dissent, just like RBG did hers. Mm-hmm. Where what's the phrase that she used that everybody Googled yesterday? She used a great phrase in her
opinion.
And she just wanted, and you don't like there could just be the winning side and the dissent. But so in the famous case of the gay marriage, what's the fucktard's name? Scalia had a really, really scathing his own thing of the dissent.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting to read, and they were just arguing like you don't have a case here. Like there is no woman that's bringing the case. It's the doctors bringing the case, saying the women are burdened, but there's no one here. So that was their only argument.
Well, and part of their argument was that the abortion procedures were more dangerous than childbirth. That's the part that really got me when I was reading through it. I'm like, they're arguing that an early
termination.
Yeah, an early pregnancy termination is much riskier.
Right.
Much riskier.
And then they
than an
couldn't
early
find,
stage.
and then they made them say, like, you need to tell us about a case where someone has
Right.
died from this or needed these procedures, and they couldn't
They
do
can't.
it. And then they said there's one, but they can't quite prove what went wrong. But it was like one case, so like, you're not doing it. But the dissent was all about, you're not representing the women, you're representing the doctors. So this is not your case. Like, we can't prove you're not arguing for undue burden for you. You're arguing it in a theoretical sense for someone else. So you really have no jurisdiction here. And they were all offended. But if you remember, in the state of California, no one took up the case against gay marriage. No one would defend it. Obama wouldn't defend it. The state of California, Jerry Brown and their attorney general said, and they had to get private citizens to come in and take up the case and pay for it. And if you listen back in the next couple of weeks to when we talked about that case, what I was expecting and what some people were expecting was for them to say, we have to let the lower court's ruling stay because you don't have any say in this. You're not the
Right, this isn't your fight.
Yeah, it's not your fight. You have no stake in this. If the state of California won't fight this, then we're just going to throw it out. And it would have let the Supreme Court out of it, but instead they took up the case and took the people's side, not California's, or the not California side, because California wasn't fighting it. So it was very interesting to see this come up again, where the person that's arguing the case, it really isn't about them, but they still made a decision.
I just think it's lovely that when somebody comes in and
That
they
was
want
I hope that really, because that really came out twisted. But
anybody that wants to come in with ulterior motives and they want to try to present it and bullshit their way through it, and then they just get nope.
So that's two big cases that have gone the liberal way because of, despite the fact that they're the person that's either bringing the case or the person the case is against are not being represented.
Right.
And they ruled. And so it was very interesting, and it kind of had a point when I was reading Clarence Thomas's, and is that his name, Clarence Thomas?
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm thinking of Clarence Darrow. Okay, Clarence Thomas is right. And Alito's dissent was that they just kept saying, like, there is no burden on anyone here, as you haven't brought in the person that this is an undue burden for them to get to this place.
Oh, I see.
You have no plaintiff.
Their dissent was in the hypothetical too.
Right, it was in and then so in California you don't have a defendant. You know what I mean? Like there's no one being accused because the state of California stood down. Why is this case in front of us if California has said they're not going to fight it? So that's two different times where they're like, well, you know what? Somebody brought it. We're going to make a ruling. But if you get a chance, and I'm going to put this link into the board just to kind of get a sense of how the arguments went. If you have time to read it, it's not a particularly long article, but it's very interesting.
I love that Slate article.
Yeah, it's from
and
Slate.
and it was a 5-3, right?
It was 5-3.
5-3. So even if the old dead
Scalia,
guy
yeah,
he'd have been there, it probably still would have been 5-4. It still would have been in effect.
Right.
Yeah. So because they were all, there were a few people on the news that were yammering on about the fact that if Scalia would have been there, and like, no, do math, figure it out. It wouldn't have been the same. But, of course, now all the red flags are going up because, there needs to be more conservatives on the...
Hopefully, sometime soon, people are going to realize that women are actually 51% of the population and actually in the majority. Mm-hmm. And at some point, that's going to turn around and bite some people in the ass, I'm hoping.
Oh, probably will.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So I put the link in the chat room. It's on
right
slate.com, and it really is.
That was a good article.
It's really good to see this going on, and the fact that there's a chance that we'll replace two. And so let's just talk about this real quick. So sure. Kennedy was the deciding vote again. Mm-hmm. He's the one that threw it over. Stephen Breyer is pretty much reliably liberal,
right.
But Kennedy is turning into the swing vote for different stuff. He's the one that he won, and he actually wrote the opinion for gay marriage with the, and it ended with "So let it be ordered." So there's an interesting article on, it might be on CNN, but it's Jeffrey Toobin, who works for CNN, and he's talking about Kennedy, even though he's not the Chief Justice,
Uh-huh.
him wanting to make sure at 80 years old that he goes down on the right side of history, which brings us to, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, and history has its eye on you, and any other Hamilton quote you want to throw in there. But Jeffrey
It's like
Toobin is
3
saying that
songs to
he's
that effect.
very, very worried about, or he's supposing that Kennedy is starting to get worried about how he's viewed in history, since he has this place as the swing vote, and he gets a little bit more attention than he should. Kind of like Ohio in a presidential election gets way more attention than is really necessary. So they're saying that he's maybe starting to look at his legacy and how he's viewed, and he doesn't want to come down as the person that's, the horrible person that's denying people rights,
Right, no.
or is making things bad. And it's an interesting article, but it's Jeffrey Toobin, and he doesn't write a lot of opinion pieces, so that I won't put a link. That's not hard to find. But it was really interesting to hear, and then you realize the ages of some of these justices, that whoever gets elected next has 1 guaranteed nomination and probably 3 pretty fast.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize Kennedy was 80.
Wow. I guess I didn't realize
Yeah.
that either. So that'll be the whole next presidential cycle is going to be very interesting with all of those nominations and
so many things in
confirmations. She'll do a great job. She's going to appoint a lot of good people.
No, I didn't know African women outnumber African men at 59%.
We'll get back
I guess I
to
should have done that. But
more
I
of
didn't.
these statistics in just a moment. We got some more headlines to go. We're going to call Marnie in about 10-15 minutes, find out where the hell she drove cross country. And you'll be here with us in the chat room. Thanks everybody for being there. We'll be right back. It's Q Talk America.
You've been listening to The Show on Q Talk America. This is Q Talk America.
The following broadcast contains adult humor, language, and topics, along with partial nudity. Actual knowledge is used sparingly. The show is a result of a lost bet and a bad game of rock, paper, scissors. It's The Show with Clayton McKee. And now, a man with a face for radio, Clayton McKee.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is The Show. It's a Tuesday night. You're in studio with Clayton, Kat Carlson, and Al Perkins. I've got 3 things going on over here in my little thing, and I don't know what to do with all of it. We're going to do it this way. We're going to do... If I can figure out which buttons work, what things, we're going to be fine. We're going to start this. It's beginning of hour 2. We're going to start the drinking disclaimer, and it goes a little bit like this, boys and girls.
And now, a drink-along. We dare you to stay awake during this royalty-free music and to play a drinking game with us. If you are currently or soon to be driving a car, you cannot play. If you are presently the primary caregiver for children and or the elderly, you may desperately want to play, but no. If you are listening from a rehab facility, you are disqualified because you already hit bottom. And that means you already won this game at least once. If playing this game is in any way illegal for you, put the bottle down and make better life choices. There is no good in your goodbye, and there is no lifeguard on duty, so you will be swimming at your own risk. Tell your lawyer to take the fucking day off. You can't sue us. We warned you. Good luck.
Sometimes the entire show just goes to hell. And what has happened right now, ladies and gentlemen, is that Al Perkins has run out of the studio because apparently Marnie is here, which I thought she was just going to be on the phone. And now apparently she's here at the house. So that's news to me. The drinking word is still coming up. Al will give it to us momentarily.
We don't know what it is.
Where's your chair?
It's by the front door. That's what I just said to you. Bring her chair in. My God.
We're very busy.
This is stimulating
very, very
podcast
busy.
radio.
The important thing is you can talk.
Things I didn't know.
No, I know we can talk. There was nothing said in your text about you arriving.
I know.
Oh, it's
You're
very
gonna call.
exciting.
I said I was.
And then all of a sudden, like, what are you, fucking backseat producing this show from wherever the hell you are?
I am genuinely surprised. So the surprise element, it worked.
You got it, yeah.
Look at
Okay,
that.
you surprised all of us by showing up.
I know.
Oh my God.
I have to get there.
There we go. Well,
Hi.
Ms. Ryers or Al, what's the drinking word?
Surprise!
I'm gonna need my headphones to come down a little bit.
Right there.
That's for
That's great. Hi, guys.
Oh, hi, Marn.
Hi.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna need a little bit of a.
Flew into town.
We're gonna need a little bit of an explanation as to what in the hell did you choose to fly back to the Midwest and then drive cross country hauling shit from a house or something?
Surprise! What happened?
Surprise.
Yeah.
Did you reach us by airplane?
Get here if you can.
Just
We
get
got
here if you
here,
can. Hi, everybody. We went to Michigan, and we were back there since last Wednesday. And it was Aaron's aunt had passed away a year ago, and so we went. There were some collectible items that she had left her, and we love the.
I just
Driver
came up with
Cross
Dead
stuff.
Ant collectibles,
Yeah.
and I thought,
Dead
that
Ant.
might be wrong.
Dead Ant. And so we drove those back, and we went through Ohio, which they need to give back to whomever wants it. Yeah. All I kept saying everywhere we drove through there was, these are the people that picked the president, supposedly.
Yeah.
That was a fucking nightmare.
That's scary stuff.
Well,
right
we
there.
were just talking about how important Ohio is in the election season.
I have to tell you, it was one of the most frightening places ever.
Ever?
It really was. Like,
Okay.
Before I experienced Texas, I used to think that the drive across Ohio lasted 17 years when we were going west.
we only took a slice. Like, we did
I would be like, are we still in fucking Ohio?
I once pawned a stereo in a neighborhood that white women should not be in Columbus, Ohio.
Well, as we were driving, we took
It's a true story.
We
I
went to
believe
a
you.
Subway where we got yelled at by some people. And, hi, guys. And
For reasons of ordering the wrong sandwich?
No, we just showed up. Apparently, like they were
White
this
women
chick
in the
was-
wrong neighborhood.
Chick was rolling her eye, like she was real mad we were there, and so she comes up, she's slamming on the gloves, and she looks at me and she goes, "What do you want?"
Wow.
And I looked at her and I was so scared by that point. I go, "Iced tea." Like you can't spit in that because
Yeah.
I have to take care of that.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna leave.
I feel like we know bartenders like that, though.
Yeah.
No, I
Good
understand.
call. That's a good call. So as we left,
Wow.
it was great. There, you're in the Midwest, the heart of the Midwest. So they had these little kids with their lemonade stands and doing all this. And Aaron, we see that kind of thing. We're like, we have to stop and get some lemonade. I, of course, was hoping that there'd be a bar right next to it with vodka. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
could mix those, but there, no. And Aaron gets out, goes up to this lemonade stand, and is getting lemonade like you do, because
Yeah.
that's what it was. This woman comes tearing ass out of the house and is like, "Do you know these kids? Do you know?" And Aaron's looking, going, "I just wanted some lemonade because they're kind of 50 cents. They're selling lemonade."
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, okay. I didn't recognize you and whatever." Apparently Toledo, which is around the corner,
Holy Toledo.
is surprise
Surprise!
is the sex trafficking capital of maybe the world.
Oh, okay.
I thought, well, maybe don't put a fucking lemonade stand right here.
Good
These
good
are
advice.
nuts.
Yeah.
Solid
Child,
advice.
50 cents.
Exactly.
Child
Just like
free.
Dead
Exactly.
Ant collectibles.
Well, 50 cents is 50 cents. So,
Wow.
well, anyway.
We're on a budget.
Oh my goodness, you're
Times
kind of
are-
not kidding.
No, the woman freaked out.
I just Googled.
What are the stats on that, Cap?
Well, I just Googled.
Give me a stat,
What did I
Pat.
type in? I typed in
Stat.
Child trafficking.
Toledo child sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And I've got 23 arrested in Toledo during National Child Sex Trafficking Sting.
Oh, I thought you was going to say week.
Week, that's what I
Yeah.
thought too.
Like, oh,
Like, wow, they have a whole week dedicated to
woo.
this. Lemonade for everybody.
Surprise!
Surprise! I'm just in the back making lemonade. Have a
Yeah.
seat.
Oh, you're
45
fine.
Toledo
No,
teens
lemonade is made
become
in front.
child sex trafficking
I know. but
victims.
Never mind. Wrong.
Not okay. Yeah.
Chris Hansen, they always come in. The girl leaves the kitchen. Oh, I'm just going to make some lemonade and have a seat. And then Chris Hansen walks in with the camera. Well, what are you doing here?
Well, I just do the milk.
All right, can we ask you some
lemonade,
questions? Why don't you just sit
fudge
down
and
over
made.
there? Seriously, there's a lot of news articles. For that.
And we had
I'm
no
very
idea. So,
concerned for Toledo.
and Aaron's like, no, I have a level 1 fingerprint card. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I teach kids.
Listeners from Toledo,
Oh.
move
Yeah. Or don't have kids.
immediately.
Or
No,
maybe
either
just
way,
nothing
just
with
move.
kids.
Keep up. Sharp eye.
Yeah. But, oh, God, it was. So we did that. We went through Kentucky. We went through humidity. Like everything
Oh,
was
I'm well
just.
aware.
I know you are.
Huh?
When I saw that, I was like, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Then
that
you were
was a
in you were
lot.
at Loretta Lynn's diner.
Oh, my God. Seriously.
That's the
Butcher
picture
Holly.
that I was like, what the fuck is going on in Minnesota that she has that all of a sudden a day trip to Kentucky's possible.
No, we went through, and it was actually in Tennessee that we went to her little Loretta Lynn ranch. I put Butcher Holler because that's just funny.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But this is the one where she sits on the couch and
supposedly, right?
Yes.
Because we had just talked about it.
Yes.
So we had the little roadside app, and we were looking at it, and I said, that's one I have to go to. Well, we got there apparently, past the part where she's in the party chair, and and we
Damn
went.
it.
Beautiful scenery, really, God bless y'all, odd people.
Yeah.
And so we looked for Pigeon Forge. Tyler, if you still listen or whatever, but it was 4 hours and 19 minutes away, and I could not handle any more Tennessee. I could not. Like, we tried, we thought, oh,
Did you see any in Kentucky?
Oh, yeah, we went through Kentucky.
I thought Kentucky, when I driving through Kentucky, I thought it was just beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, you
Beautiful.
did say that. Yeah.
Mhm.
You just.
Yeah, like Indiana can be given back to whomever. And we were going to go to Pence. I wanted to do the whole periods for Pence and stand in front.
Yeah.
I wanted to do signs and everything, but we didn't get to do that either. We skipped that part because I just wanted to get the fuck out of Indiana.
Well, your trip was ruined.
Well, kind of.
And anyways,
We went to a lot. We did a lot of just really kitschy stuff, like on the side.
Is this the lemonade stand that you were talking about?
Yeah. Is that from Aaron's pictures?
It's from your Facebook page.
And that's the woman.
And this the woman coming to kill you?
Actually, that's another one of the kids that came out before Aaron was.
Take that picture down immediately before
right.
we're all accessories to
Exactly.
child trafficking. Take it down immediately.
Yeah, way before
That's
she was
fantastic.
accused of being a sex trafficker.
I think I found the picture that's the problem. Hang on a minute.
Let's just say Ernie's.
The kid holding the sign. 50
That's the one. Because you can see the mom coming out of the house with breakneck speed. Oh yeah,
It really was something.
Oh.
I'm like, what the hell is happening?
So if you look at this picture, hang on just a second. If you look at this picture, you can see the kid holding the sign and the mom all the way to the right, coming out the front porch there, gonna kick your ass.
That's right. We were like, and this one could be worth a lot. So,
Hey, you lesbians, get off my lawn.
Get off my
See,
lawn.
that's what I thought this was going to be about. This is not recognizing you, not because they recognize you as lesbians.
Exactly. No, it just.
Well, you
in
see
general.
a Subaru.
Well, they weren't in a Subaru.
Actually, we were.
You were in disguise.
You were
We
in
were.
you're into Subaru?
No, we had for $119 for the entire week. That's after we kept it an extra day today. It was $113. It was a Mercedes. Subaru, not Subaru. The Mercedes
Mercedes does not make
SUV.
Subaru.
Where did you rent this that it was that cheap?
It was through a place called Sixt, which I kept thinking was fake. So did Aaron. We're like, this can't be real. We get there and it was. They're closing their Detroit.
They're just closing
affiliate,
Detroit. You can say that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fact.
That too. It really was. Anyway, they're closing that.
Was it a GLS?
Rental car, Sixt.com.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were no drop-off fees going one way. There was no, and 119.
Wow.
$119.
Well, because they were just
for
trying to
the
get their cars to other locations.
Right. And
Oh,
they
so you
only
were
had
doing
like
a great
6
service.
locations. We didn't know, but it worked out real well.
Wow.
So we had a fancy car for the whole week.
They made out on that because they got someone to actually pay them to transport their
transport
vehicle.
a car,
and
right.
for us, it went real well
Yeah.
because it would have been like if we rented one here just to go to California when we go in July, it'll be over $400.
Yeah.
Now, this next picture is from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I want you to explain it. What in the fuck you're doing here? Why is there a stack of Volkswagen Beetles and you're underneath one?
Well, okay, so we had this roadside app, and it has like the craziest, stupidest things that
Apparently
you
it
can
works.
see.
Apparently it works.
It does. There are actually 4 Volkswagen Beetles that are stacked
Get an
on each
endorsement
other.
deal stat.
And so we were there, and we were just fucking around, but it was very, very fun. It was in Deliverance, Ohio, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So we just wanted to go to Deliverance.
Okay.
Whee!
Was there a banjo anywhere in the city?
No.
I want to know with the stack of cars, was there like supporting any kind of bracketing, or was it just straight up cars? Did they
There's
appear
no
to be
way. There
bolted
has to be
together?
bracketing.
Oh, you mean the 4 cars on top of
Yeah.
each other?
Yeah,
Yeah.
clearly.
Oh,
has
yeah.
to be.
Oh, yeah. And
I
so
call fraud then.
that was there, and actually there's another picture with a zombie hanging out of it. It was just kind of fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Volkswagens and zombies, I'm in.
We did
the kibbles.
another round of Volkswagens in Texas that were supposed to be like Stonehenge-ish.
Oh, there's the picture. Stand by. I'll keep going.
And then we did another one with Cadillacs, like right outside Amarillo.
Yes, I know that one.
The Cadillacs.
Uh-huh.
We stopped and we did that. It was very fun, very fun. Not a fan of the South.
Mm-mm.
Without trying to be rude to anyone in the South, it just the people. Honest to God,
we tend to lose listeners from the South. It seems.
There you go. There's the zombie.
Pointing
see?
at the zombie.
Pointing at the zombie. It's hanging out, just hanging out. I love the zombies.
Actually,
But-
there's 5. 1, 2, 3, and there's 2 in there. There's
Oh,
five,
there might have been
five
five.
Volkswagens.
My bad. I thought there was 4.
Yeah.
The zombie scared me a little
I
bit.
understand.
But without trying to be rude, people were just in Tennessee, especially. It was really surprising to me.
We miss you, Tyler.
But we do, and as a matter of fact, I really did. I'm like, we need to drive to Pigeon Forge
Yeah.
because we're going to find him.
Uh-huh.
It's Pigeon Forge.
It's not going to be hard.
No, but he was 4 hours
Pull
and
up to the
19
Piggly
minutes
Wiggly and be like, "Hey,
east.
do y'all know Tyler?
And where's Tyler from Tennessee?
Probably
Right.
single guy. Teaches
school, 8th grade, 7th
teaches
grade.
English.
But yeah, it was.
Lives with a
It
roommate.
made me sad actually because like we were expecting to go to some of the cafes and like great food, right? The whole kind of southern great food and
Sure.
southern charm. No.
Oh.
Go to the
No.
Whistle Stop, fried green tomatoes
Right,
at the Whistle Stop
exactly.
Cafe.
Like something. No,
That
everybody.
place has been dead a long time.
Way dead. People were just. It was very. It was a letdown, and I thought that all the shit. Wait till you see some of the pictures that we do not have up there. When we went into Loretta Lynn's restaurant, now Loretta must know about this, and I mean, there was a teapot there, and but I'm not trying to be real racially motivated here, but see if this means I'm a little Sambo, short and
Oh,
Oh, sure.
I'm
Wow.
not kidding.
Right.
That and the Confederate flag, and they had cookie jars.
Yeah, and I never get why people don't know how uncomfortable that makes some people.
Especially when the black gal and there was a black gal, an Asian girl, and I think it was just a white girl, just a white girl, but walked in to the restaurant, and I'm paying no attention because I'm sitting there with my mouth hanging open.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is happening? I have a picture of someone in Tennessee that took off in front of us that had the American flag and the Confederate flag hanging out of the back of their truck. What?
Yeah.
Just on purpose? You meant that?
I saw that in Mesa. That's not special.
Yeah.
It's ignorant. But when seeing all of this stuff, I'm not gonna lie. The Trump signs that were everywhere, like the billboards.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh hell, he does like the poorly
Because those are the
educated.
people that he's
I know it.
Yeah, speaking to directly.
Not speaking
Absolutely
to,
right.
preaching to.
Preaching
And
to.
when Shane and I last fall were down in the Gulf Coast, and we had gone off of the 10, because we're driving on the 10, and when you're on those freeways, sometimes there's just nothing around. Like it's just cut through trees.
Mm-hmm.
So there's trees on either side, and you don't get much of a view or know like really where you are. You're just on a super highway. So there was a sign that said like Southern beaches and strange stuff. What has he got playing?
What is happening?
I don't know. Something's playing over there.
Oh, so we took this southern route and we ended up driving along the actual Gulf Coast. It was a beautiful little drive, but then the road that we were on wandered a little north. The beach was south. We couldn't see it anymore, and all of a sudden we were on a 2-lane road,
Right.
going towards
Awkwardville.
Yeah, Awkwardville, and it was like dark and secluded. And I'm like, oh, it's the movie with
Driving with Daisy.
Mississippi Burning.
none of these things.
I mean, for real.
The horror movie with
Chariots of Fire.
Carrie.
with Justin, whatever his name, Justin Long.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, Jeepers
Like
Creepers,
all of
the
a
one
sudden,
with the
like
bus.
all of a sudden we were in like Jeepers Creepers, and I looked at Shane because the sun was just going down. I'm like, how about we Google how to get back to the 10 right now, so we're not the asshats in the dark in a rental car in the middle of Farmville, Alabama.
Sure.
And Shane was, and usually Shane, whenever I suggest something, Shane's like, "Oh, you're being an asshole." Shane was like, "Let's do that now."
Yeah.
Well, you still have signal, and we're not further into this horror movie.
Right.
That's exactly it. When Aaron said we lost internet, I started driving faster.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, we need to. it just was. It was just too much, and I very honestly was surprised by it, whether that's ignorant or not. It was.
Yeah.
It was really startling to see that. It was just a little too much because I wanted to go up and be like, do you know that that's a problem? Do you know that like having all these Confederate flags, it's a real
And we were
fucking
surprised
problem?
that when we got down to the Gulf Coast part of it, there wasn't a lot of that to be seen.
Okay.
When you got down there close to the little towns along the water.
Okay.
Like we didn't see a lot of the Confederate flags and that kind of stuff, like the shit
We're
kickers
in
and
the
shit.
kind of
But
part of, so.
You know, speaking of those, and you just gave me a thought in regards to that. You know how we always talk about the fact that it would be nice if businesses that were going to discriminate would hang a shingle out and it says, "Hey, don't come here. We don't, so we can just move on.
Yeah.
We know how to pick and choose." Well, it's kind of the same thing with those flags. If I'm driving through a town and I see a shop that's got a Confederate flag, I'm just going to move
moving
on.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm not going to give them my $1.50 for a Snickers or whatever the fuck they.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
No. Absolutely
So
correct.
I guess in a way it's kind of convenient that they do. Now, this subway that you'd gone to, which I realized was in the South, but I'm saying if they would have if this girl had a problem or maybe just bad attitude.
Might have been just bad
Right.
attitude, but
What was the deal with her?
Yeah.
Oh, but you probably didn't do what I would have done.
which is
Oh, I didn't forget what the fucking store number was by the receipt, and I would have.
it was in Waterville, and so we can find it because it
Probably.
was the only
I
one,
would
and that's what we talked about.
Immediately rate the ownership of that because
And that's what we talked about. There was a gal who was sitting out and she must have worked there. So as we come around we come in, and Aaron sat there and kept saying, "Welcome to Subway. How can I help you? Welcome, welcome." We were standing there for a while. No one's there. She's in the back. She looks out and sees us and rolls her eyes and we're like, And so finally someone yelled out, like, and we've kept doing it throughout all the rest of the states, of course, mimicking it. Like all of a sudden we heard, "Jenny!" And she screams, "I know!" Like she just screamed it from the back end. That's where she comes out and gets the gloves and like goes through all this. And we were like, "Oh hell, I'll just have a nice tea," because we didn't want to leave without anything at that point. It was, I'll just have that. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I think that something, because it was terrible.
Let those franchise owners know that if they have asshole customer service people behind their they don't want that because obviously that's their bottom line.
Oh yeah, and it was very easy to be able to know where that store is because seriously, Waterville.
And I'm not saying that people don't have bad days in any line of work. I get that, but there's a point where you've just had a bad day or you're just a bitch. What do you want?
Correct. What do you want? Right.
Yeah,
right.
no.
And to come out like that rather than saying like, "Listen, I'm sorry," or whatever. No one. Was
What I
in
do
there.
wish that they would all stop doing is every time I walk into a Subway anywhere, welcome to Subway, welcome to Subway, welcome to Subway. Shut up. Just make your sandwiches and quit welcoming me to your fucking store. I know where I am.
I prefer you stop.
Yeah, just stop welcoming me to whatever store you're in. I don't need it anymore.
It's fantastic.
Okay, drinking word apparently is surprise! Surprise!
Yeah.
There's that. We're going to continue on. We are in the middle of a
Oh,
headline.
no, did you want to weigh in? Because we already touched on it. Did you have anything to say about the three ladies of the Supreme Court's...
Oh, that was wonderful.
Well,
RBG?
Marnie's not planning on any more abortions.
Not anymore.
I know, but I know you're also someone who wants her notorious RBG action doll like I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we were thrilled when Erin said that. She had heard about it before I did, and we were just thrilled.
And I'll send you the link to that. There's an article on Slate we were just talking about, so to get you up to speed about Roberts trying to rein in the three women of the Supreme Court to get them to play along with
Heard a little bit about that, just a little bit.
So interesting.
Coming in and out, and then when we got to Arkansas, there was Fox News playing on the TV when we first walked in. It was startling.
Yeah.
And we walked in and we're like,
Was any of it about the fact that
time.
Huckabee got fined $25,000 for playing Eye of the Tiger, or that the county clerks got slapped down for not? They can no longer deny marriage.
Obama had one bad decision this week about his immigration executive order got slapped down, but the rest of it's all been good. Like.
That's what Erin said. She goes, "I don't want to jinx anything." But,
yeah. Well, I think it's over.
I know.
The session
I was like,
oh no, they have till Well, they think they have till Friday.
Wait, I wasn't listening. Who are we talking about?
The Supreme Court has till Friday, I think, has to
the
issue.
Supremes. Baby love, my baby love. Oh, probably a bad song to sing with the ruling.
Surprise!
That's weird when we were just talking about child sex trafficking.
Oh, there's so many weird
Baby
things.
love is a little.
Our final
odd.
episode of season 4.
Good call. Good point. My bad.
Maybe next
Kind of like
season.
we might want to edit out those pictures that have those kids' faces on them. Like,
immediately.
also,
good.
like, we'll pretend they're the models that came with the camera.
Sure.
That came in the frame, I swear.
Yeah.
But you guys, and I'm sure you already talked about it, but Missouri was
there.
there.
Still there.
So you got to ride in a tractor. So that
I
was
did.
happiness.
I got to spend some tractor time with my cousin, which was
Good.
great. Aside from riding it,
Yeah.
the one he's fully restored, and then he's going to restore the red one, which was my grandfather's. So no, that's always fun to hang out with them and do that. And like I was telling Kat when we got there on Thursday night, the joy of walking into the house. My cousin was in West Virginia, where all that flooding was.
No,
he was on a
okay.
business trip, and he came home early, fortunately, because of all the flooding. So flooding bad for them, good for our family.
Sure.
So he came home, but when I walked in, my cousin-in-law, his new wife,
Correct,
I could see the TV from the kitchen where we were, and my boyfriend was on TV, so she loves Maddow.
What the hell are you talking about?
They're all on board for the
Good.
Maddow train.
Good.
I walked into the house
So
today and
those
Matt was on a
cousins-
tirade on the TV. I was like, oh, your boyfriend's on a roll.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those cousins were on board.
Oh,
Oh, what about
100
the other cousins?
They were never at the house.
Good.
More better.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So no, I'm sure. I'm certain how that's going to work. It's an us and them sort of a family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I get it.
I got to see parts of my state that I'd never seen before to do that funeral. But anyway, it's all good.
Okay.
Oh, and let me tell you about the most uncomfortable portion of this whole thing.
The humidity.
Open casket.
No,
Oh.
no, that didn't bug me at all. But no, what the weirdest thing? No, now understand this. This is a part of town. And Mom, I know you're listening, and I'm not going to recap everything, but this is a part of the country where if you don't get out, you still live in 1960 whatever. When you know, hey, remember what we used to do back in 1964?
Right.
Remember all that kind of shit?
Same thing.
So
Surprise.
right.
Still
so
doing it.
So a lot of these people still live there. Well, they didn't know who I was at first. They walked in, they knew my cousin because he still lived there. They knew the cousin of the aunt that had passed away. They knew all that, or the children of them. Anyway, they didn't know who I was. Okay. Well, they figured out who I was. So I got cornered at one point at the visitation of my aunt's funeral. I got cornered by 3 women who were trying to tell me how hot my dad was in high school and how they all chased him.
Gross.
And I'm like, I don't need to know any of
There
this.
is. It's what I say it all the time. Whenever you go to a funeral, you just have to be amazed at the level of inappropriateness.
It was crazy.
And
people don't know
sometimes
what's
it's coming
going
out of
on.
your mouth. Like, you don't know
Oh,
what
no.
to do or say, so you end up
No.
having, like, a laugh about something really awful.
Yeah, right.
But sometimes you're, like, seriously trying to be,
It was weird.
like, have a moment, and somebody just comes up and says something so bizarre, and you're like, oh, no.
It was weird.
He had no reason to be there, correct?
Oh, he wasn't there at all. No,
Okay.
no. So, and then at one
I
point,
just want you know how like weird shit happens.
So then at
and
one point, somebody's like, "Well, how is he?" I'm like, "I haven't talked to him in 25 years. I have no idea." And they're all like, they kind of look at you.
Yeah.
And then the one old boy's like, "Well, I know where he is," and he started talking. Well, then marriage came around, and this is where Clayton decided to edit.
I'm
So let it be known.
surprised.
Surprise!
Yeah.
Clayton edited in a little funeral home in Webb City, Missouri.
Sure.
Somehow the topic of marriage came up, and this good old boy looked at me and goes, "You married yet?" I'm like, "Hell no." And he goes, "You smart man. You's a smart man." And my first thought was, well, they only let us start getting married a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
I've only had a year to find a husband,
Right.
and Maddow won't return my calls.
Right. Soon as Maddow gets back to me, we are good.
Yeah.
However, both of us are going to look exactly the same in the
Right.
pictures. Same
It's
hair
true.
and same black jacket.
True. Yeah.
Jackets.
Hers will be
Jackets.
hers will be slightly smaller.
It'll
jacket.
be a different cut.
Hers is much different than
Yeah.
mine.
I know,
Mine's,
but hers never fits right lately.
mine's full figure.
I'm worried about who's in charge of her jackets.
Somebody get Susie Orman on the phone.
Yes.
Stab me.
Oh, Susie.
Rachel, we got a girl for you. She's named Susie, and she finds the best
loves
jackets.
Denied.
Surprise!
Denied.
Oh shit. So anyway, got home from Missouri. It was good, but well, Lord, it's a lot.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's green as hell, but again, oh my God, this humidity. And again, I think I'm a year older. I'm a year more out of shape. It gets worse. But even my mom was like, "Fuck this."
No, well, you just drip.
Too
Like
humid.
it's just.
Right. You don't make a move without just switzing everywhere. You need a towel or a squeegee the whole time you're there.
Absolutely.
It's bad.
So I was fine getting out of the car when we finally got back at 6:45 or 10 to 7, whatever it was. We walked into the house, and the minute that I opened the door, I'm like,
Yeah.
There it is.
It's hot.
We were that.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will be. You'll be happy. I did go to Gringos in Webb City. That's not the one that we went to.
Okay.
But I went to another location, and I laughed because I'm looking at the menu board, and the kids were like, "What do you want, sir?" And I'm like, "Well, hang on. I haven't been here in 2 years. Calm down." And they're like, "Well, the only thing that's changed is we don't have whatever the hell they didn't have anymore."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right." But as I was looking over the menu, it said cinnamon wedgies, and I just started laughing.
Surprise! They still have
Just started laughing,
Oh.
made me laugh. But anyway, I got my
That's
little
great.
fix.
Did
It was
you
like-
get to see?
I never saw Duke. I
you
didn't see
okay.
any. Really, nobody outside of the family did I see.
Yeah, we I played because a couple people that we saw were like, "Oh, are you guys going to go to Graceland when you're in Tennessee? Or are you going to do this? Are you going to do this?" And so we had said, we're like, we'll see. We'll drive past it. You know, last time I had been there was I wanted to go to Beale Street. That was my big deal.
Yeah.
Because last time I was there, I was 13.
Okay.
So we did almost the same exact thing this time around as I did when I was 13. We drove right past Graceland, and we got out on Beale Street and kind of went like this, and then that was about it.
Yeah.
But it was it was fantastic. So anyway, I showed our friends Duke. I said, actually, Clayton's in Missouri right now, probably seeing Duke, and they were just blown away by his voice.
Oh.
They were just blown away by his voice. They just loved it. So
Yeah, no, we
that
text
was
back and forth. And when he found out I was out of town, he sent me a text that says, "I want all my records back."
Damn it.
Surprise, we're broken up.
Surprise, I was gone.
The only one thing that we did that was it was definitely on the here's a list of things to do, but it wasn't about seeing like an elephant with a pink martini glass.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a crazy thing like that. We went to the site of the Oklahoma City bombing. To the
Oh, okay,
Oklahoma
the memorial, right?
That was something. I mean,
I've never been there either.
I was so.
Is it done with chairs? Do I have that
It
right?
is.
Yeah, I think
and it's set up in such a way, and I can show you the pictures that I have taken because I took a lot of really. It's this great big thing as you walk in on Harvey and Fifth, like where the front door would have been to the Alfred P. Murrah building, and as you're coming in, it has a quote, and you walk through this huge kind of opening, and you go up, and then on the backside when you look up, it's all black. And you look up and it says 901. And you're like, 901. And you think like, is that a scripture thing? Right. But I didn't, I just didn't. And then you look across and it's like a water going down and then it says 903. And the whole point is that at 901 was innocence. At 902,
Was
everything,
the occurrence.
the explosion. And then at 903 was where you began healing. And so in between there, they have the chairs, these chairs that are set up.
Oh, okay.
And they're set up in such a way, and again, I took a picture of the description, but it's set up in such a way of who was on the first floor, who was on the second floor, who was there, and the working bit, who were visitors. There were 5 visitors. So there are 5 chairs that are set, kind of offset. But it really was
Oh, wow.
something
That's very
very, it was,
powerful.
and much like 9/11, where at Ground Zero where there was the tree, right? That state, same thing. They had this tree that was just huge and beautiful, and it's called the Survivor's Tree, and so they have a thing surrounding it. But that of anything, I was so glad that we went and did that, because seeing that and being able to pay
acknowledge
those
that
and
loss,
and
yeah.
seeing that they left part of the building that would have been the outside of it was kind of what surrounded this memorial.
Oh.
Where you kind of go, whoa, okay.
Oh, wow.
And the kids were such a big part of it, of the children that died.
The daycare that
obviously,
was there,
the
right.
daycare that was there. But they also have this one section in front of the kind of the museum that's been set up now, where kids had sent in tiles, ceramic tiles, and put things on it. And much of what they had done were from around the state and around the country, were for the first responders, and kind of a thank you. And then it was on the other side, they showed like these healing tiles, and it's kids, you know, we will heal. And it's a kid that you look at, and Aaron said, I wonder if when he looks back now, because that childhood innocence, HEEL,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, seeing those things, but there was something so beautiful about that. And these tiles, how they drew, and the broken hearts. And it just, it was one of the most moving, touching things that.
Oh, wow.
And I've been to the 9/11 Ground Zero memorial stuff as well, and that was, come on, that was
Right.
wild. But this is so thought of, without being rude to anyone in Oklahoma, almost second hand, kind of like, well, but 9/11, right? And that Oklahoma City, like reading about that, and then, you know, you get
Yeah.
into it, kind of read a little bit more with the Timothy McVeigh and bring everything back, and I was just, it infuriated me.
Yeah, it's just enraging. And yeah.
Very much. Like, I was mad at you all for taking away, because it was all about Second Amendment rights. He was that fucking mad that someone was going to take away his Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, that he killed children. Again.
That he killed children, and he killed these innocent people, and that it was because he was so goddamn mad about the Ruby Ridge and with what happened at Ruby Ridge with
Waco,
the FBI
right?
and Waco,
Right.
And he was so fucking mad at them that's why he did it. And I thought, come on.
Yeah, but he's not a terrorist because he's white.
Of course not.
Yeah.
No,
Very
no, no.
important to remember that.
And from here.
yeah.
You know.
Right.
So, but anyway, startling. And if anybody ever gets the chance, like going through, it really is just all the humidity in the world. You didn't even feel it while you were there, because it was just so. There was just a real piece that was there, and it was really beautiful. So anyway, digress. Sorry, but that was lovely. The end.
Well,
Surprise!
you
I
had
find myself in Oklahoma. Surprise.
quite
Yes.
a trip.
Yes.
Okay, gonna continue on with a couple more headlines. Then Al's got entertainment, where he's gonna tell us all kinds of stuff, and then Kat's gonna attempt to do a segment before.
We'll be out of time by
It's
then.
all good. A Michigan woman is accused of killing her husband, and the prosecutor was turning to the dead man's parrot to put her behind bars. Glenna Durham was charged last Thursday in connection with a May 2015 murder of her husband Martin at their Inslee Township home. Now, authorities said Martin was shot 5 times, including once in the head, which is probably the one that killed him.
Yeah.
Glenna also sustained a shotgun wound to her own head. At first, police believed an intruder was to blame, but Glenna became a suspect after investigators found a handgun in the home, as well as an apparent suicide note, apparently written to her ex-husband and her children by her. Martin Durham's ex-wife, Christine Keller, is convinced his beloved African gray parrot, Bud, saw the entire tragic event. Keller inherited the bird after the murder and was shocked by what came out of the bird's mouth. 2 weeks after the incident, Bud started going into rants that I couldn't explain, she told Fox 17 online. He was screaming, yelling, and always ending it with, "Don't fucking shoot! Don't fucking shoot!" I believe with my heart that those are the last words that Marty actually said. Glenna Durham is being held in
Seems fair.
Newaygo County Jail without bond. Video exists of the bird actually saying the phrase "Don't fucking shoot," and prosecutor Robert Springstead has not ruled out using it in court. But first, he has to determine if anything the bird says is actually admissible at all. It's an interesting novelty, and it's been a great opportunity for me to learn about African parrots, he said. It is something we are going to be looking at to determine if it's reliable to use, or if it's information that we can even use to prosecute the case. He seemed more skeptical when he spoke to the Associated Press earlier in the month. He told reporters highly doubts that there's any precedent that what's repeated by a parrot can be used as evidence. If it can be proven that the bird never said it before the murder, which I doubt that there is anyway, Samuel Carr, who is a parrot buff in San Diego, believes parrots like Bud are capable of vocally recreating something that they witnessed or heard. So, that was kind of interesting.
Now, and I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, I have no knowledge of parrots, but that they...
Nor should you.
Yeah, but that the voice that they adapt sounds like yours. Or sounds like the person that they hear speak.
Because they're mimicking.
They're mimicking, exactly right.
They're mimicking, so that it does
If it's a
have a sound
if
of
it's a gravelly voice, they adopt that. If it's a high-pitched voice, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, so, I mean... I don't know, but I like that there's no legal precedent for a parrot in court. Well, really?
This shit weird.
How long do you have to Google that for?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that there's not.
Got it. Do you have anything, Marn? Or do you want to just...
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. I do, but...
Kat, do you have something you want to chat about?
Got grapes in my mouth, but yes.
Yes! or no? Yes. Answer the wrong answer.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Speaking of surprises, here in Arizona, right here in Phoenix, a 27-year-old man died in a backyard pool Monday after possibly being shocked, according to police Phoenix Fire Department. Yeah.
All right.
The man's wife and 3 children were poolside as he tried to replace the bulb in the pool light.
Oh, dear God.
At about 1:40 p.m., according to fire officials. The man's son called 911 and firefighters arrived to the home as family members were trying to fish him out of the pool. He's been swimming in this pool since he was 4 or 5, and it's always been broken, the man's 8-year-old daughter said. He tried to fix it before, but nothing like this ever happened.
Yeah, well, it only happens once.
Wow.
Yeah, they fished him out. He was full code, meaning the man was not breathing and or his heart wasn't beating. It's very scary, and everyone was crying. But shocking news, if you try and change the light bulb...
Shocking news.
Surprise!
Not just near water, but completely submerged in said water.
That may be the most awkward segue ever that you've done.
Wasn't that nice?
That was nice.
Thanks, I tried.
Shocking to know.
Shocking news. I just can't. And we have a pool light in our pool.
Don't replace it.
No, are you kidding?
My
Listen.
mom's is out too. You don't see me up there working on it.
Ours has I think not even necessarily a short, but just kind of a gap in the switch, and so it'll flicker from time to time. And every time it does, I'm like, turn it off! Hurry up! Get out of the pool! Everybody out of the pool!
Just replace the switch.
Oh, it's not my house. No. I rent.
Okay, it's $4 and it's going to possibly save a life.
But I do think until that day, the get out of the water, everybody run and flip
That's
the switch
a
off.
clear
is-
strategy. Yeah. Nice. So we've just decided to swim in the dark. We just don't turn it on at all.
And that's better for bugs too at night because
True story. Because those palmetto bugs, those big fucking beetles that like kamikaze attack at you, are the worst.
they fly like this. Well, that's how they fly.
I know, but it just
That's me. That's them.
I
It's
know,
everybody
but
in
they're
the
this
story all
big
looks
and
at the same look on their
They're
face.
this big, and at night they attack. Well, I mean, not really attack, but they just
They
like
dive bomb.
at you.
Gotcha.
At the house in the cornfield, if you wanted the lights on in the pool, you had to turn them on after it got dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like you couldn't preemptively turn them on because the bugs would think that light was the setting sun, and right at sunset you would just be hit by every
Everything.
one of God's creatures
No
that didn't make it
good.
on the ark. Like it was just wrong.
The worst.
Gotcha. Well,
Public service announcement.
Thank you
Don't
very
change
much,
your-
Kat Carlson,
don't change
for
your pool
pool
light.
people everywhere. In one of her most confusing speeches to date, the lovely, talented, and often confusing Sarah Palin
Oh,
gave
I thought we were talking about the other one. Yeah.
gave presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump some good advice. When choosing a running mate, she said this past weekend, I would tell him to find someone who understands who's the boss will be. Someone who's not running too. Awkward pause. Someone who could serve with who would not need a taste tester. Okay, I'm just going to let her say it because
Is that word for word? Because that's amazing.
it's horrible. It's
the
horrible.
winking imbecile is back.
So this is Sarah Palin, the question and then her response.
As someone who has run for vice president, you could be well situated to advise Mr. Trump on what characteristics or credentials he should be looking for. What would you tell him?
I would tell him to find someone who understands who the boss would be, someone who is not running to, somebody that he could serve with, who he wouldn't need a food taste tester around him, you know what I mean? He's someone who's going to be loyal to what the boss's agenda is. So that's going to be real important. And then someone with that experience too, again, coming from the private sector, connected to the essential people in this country, not part of that political establishment that has been part of the problem.
And that's it, right there. She has no fucking idea what she's even talking about.
The essential people.
The essential people.
A pork jester? She was saying he shouldn't have a pork taster.
The food taster was in there.
Food taster.
But the fact that, like,
wow,
Jesus,
she always has, it's either the real Americans who can't live in cities, you know what I mean? You have to have like 2.3 cows to be a real American, or the essential Americans. So now we're just expendable. Now if you live in a city and use electricity, you're not essential anymore.
You gotta have 3 cows and 11 guns.
Yeah, as soon as you graduate from high school with her,
It's
essential's over.
Over.
She's fantastic. Just fucking crazy
I
batshit bullshit.
like when she's
and the fact that you never have to mock her. You know what?
No, you don't.
There's no reason. We're just run the tape.
We're just gonna
Right. But that's all that Tina Fey's ever done. She's really never made fun of her. She
Always
just
done it word for word.
does it what she's right.
Oh my god, that Katie Couric interview! I could go watch that all day
Over and
long.
over and over.
And I could watch them side by side. Like I could watch Tina Fey, and then I could watch Sarah Palin, and then I'll go back and watch Tina Fey, and they're equally
Well, what specifically
hilarious.
do you read? All of them.
All of them.
Oh Jesus Christ! Really?
But could you
Hilarious.
name just one? Whatever's in front of me.
What?
Speaking of people who are their own punchline.
Oh,
well done.
Nicely done.
During an explosive CNN segment this Sunday, former Arizona Governor Jan Brewer
I did not see it.
Surprise!
lashed out at President Barack Obama because she said she was tired of being called a bigot.
Oh.
Well, don't be
That's right.
one.
Don't be one.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Such a
Look at
simple
that.
answer.
Pretty easy
This
fix.
seems logical. Here's what the president said. The president said,
Elegant solution.
quote, "We don't have time for charlatans. We don't have time for hatred, and we don't have time for bigotry. We don't have time for flim-flam." And I love that he said flim-flam.
Flim-flam.
Oh.
There is no time for flim-flam. And we don't have the luxury of just popping off and saying just whatever comes to the top of our heads. Don't have time for that, said President Barack Obama.
Who had no more fucks to give?
0 fucks.
None.
President 0 fucks.
He showed the box
Who I
the other day
love.
on TV.
Son.
Nope, it was fuckless.
Oh, box of fucks
Out
is
of
empty.
fucks. Box of fucks.
The president's comments appeared to hit a nerve with Jan Brewer when she was asked about them during a panel segment on CNN. She says, "Obama just always comes tearing after Republicans constantly, calling names and calling people bigots and racists. And that's their big comeback, you know? It's absolutely ridiculous to see a president speak like that. It's offensive. Offensive." Now, former Maryland governor and Kermit the Frog lookalike Martin O'Malley,
Wow.
well, because he kind of does. Look at him again.
All right, I will.
Check the stats.
Reminded Brewer that the president did not make his comments about all Republicans, but he did, quote, "say it rightly that Donald Trump is a bigot. Donald Trump is a racist." Martin O'Malley insisted. "Donald Trump is, in fact, making fascist appeals. That's why many self-respecting Republicans are not supporting Donald Trump."
Yeah, you stand behind somebody in a white robe with a hood.
You're gonna
You're gonna maybe get confused with a racist.
There's a little profiling going on.
Please ask Siri to define guilty by association.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, for listeners not local, I would like to let them understand what flim-flam is. I've looked up the actual definition because I want everybody to
Resident
understand.
Googler Clayton McKay.
No, I took it. You
I
were
like it. No, I like it.
You were busy.
Midget with a
I'm very
microphone.
busy.
You had to get on that.
Now we go to a dwarf with Trisha Takanawa with a midget and a microphone. It's an informal word, according to what it says on the Googles. It's a noun. There's two definitions. The noun definition is nonsensical or insincere talk.
So this show.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to use it in a sentence.
Oh, please.
The sentence is, "I suppose that you suspect me of pseudo-intellectual flim-flam."
No.
Which is-
Again, this show.
The show. Now, definition 2, where it's a verb.
I hope it's a verb.
There's
yeah.
a verb. It's a verb. Now, it's like to swindle someone with a confidence game. The tribe was flim-flammed out of its land.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's how I would use it.
Okay.
I'm more a fan of the verb.
You're like a verb. Okay, I just didn't. I want to make sure everybody understands.
Listen, I'm going to pee.
Flim-flam.
Well, if you
I'm going to make
flim-flam,
flim-flam and then
if you flim-flam, I'd like you to wash your hands.
While you're getting more wine, I've got one more of these in the fridge if you don't mind.
all dreams will come true.
Don't
flim-flam that, would
don't
you?
flim-flam while you're in there.
Well, to finish this off, Jan Brewer, she continued on. She said, "We need to discuss policy. With Obama and Clinton, every time you disagree with them, it doesn't matter what the subject is, you're a bigot or a racist."
Yes.
She says. Well, depending on whether or not you are a bigot or a racist,
Right.
maybe it's,
That also factors
it may
in.
be relevant
Yeah.
every time. Every time. Well, CNN host Jake Tapper wondered if Brewer considered any of Trump's remarks to be, at the very least, racially tinged or offensive on a racial level. Let's just bring it down a little bit. Do you think maybe there's a little bit of racism?
How did that go, Kat? Tell
a
us.
little bit.
No.
Brewer is giving Trump a pass because he's, quote, new to the political
Giving him a
area.
pass.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's saying things that, when he said things that she's, quote, not comfortable with, he's new.
Whatever.
Okay.
He's new.
What do you
But
do?
dang it, she exclaimed, I get fed up.
Dang it.
That we hear over and over and over and over and over
Dang
and
it.
Barry and Larry and over again from the President of the United States that every time somebody wants to support the Constitution and the rule of law, that we are out there because we are racists and bigots.
Sure.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Like you do.
Like, yep.
Like you do.
Martin O'Malley, of course, brought evidence and noted that Trump, launched racial attacks on a Mexican heritage of a judge, hearing the case against Trump, University. And Martin O'Malley appealed
Absolutely.
to the greater
base.
sensibilities of Governor Brewer and said, surely, Governor, you can't agree that this is proper behavior for a man who's running for president. She says, well, he didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Shut up!
Wow.
Yeah, her exact quote is, I don't believe Donald Trump meant it in the manner that he said it. I believe he felt that he was being treated unfairly. Because he hates Mexicans? Martin O'Malley asked.
Yeah, good question.
No, said Brewer. I can't believe you're supporting him, said Martin O'Malley, throwing his hands in the air. Believe it, Brewer concluded.
Yeah, I mean, because she
said what she said.
He didn't mean it.
She said, "Believe it." That's what she said.
Now somebody get me a terror tank.
That's right.
And a
I-
scotch. I need
yeah.
a fucking
now
scotch.
and
I always
now
thought she was a gin and tonic kind of a girl.
Oh, no, I think scotch.
Is she a scotch?
she sounds like Scotch in a lot of cigars.
Pretty sure when she
Surprise!
got her, I'm
Smoking
pretty
like
sure
a
when
man.
she got her DUI that it was scotch.
Was it
That
scotch?
they
Oh, I
said-
feel that that's true. I feel that's true.
Good
And
for her.
I'd like to go back to the flim flam for a minute, where Jenny has now used it as an adjective that Trump is a flim flam man. So it's amazing how many different ways. If we could make it flim flammy, we could make it a.
You got trouble.
Anita, the white male 1950s equivalent
Right
to
here in
Gladys
River
Knight
City.
and the Pips. Nice. Right here in River City.
Right here.
With a flim and a flam and a comb over hair and
Starts with T, ends with P, and it rhymes with dump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
winner.
Right
Good
here.
call. Good call.
Something like that.
I like it.
Have we
But
read?
she's another one. Pall Mall unfilters. Yes, exactly. That's when you say Pall Mall unfilters, your next phrase is Jen Brewer.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, if we were on $25,000 pyramid and either of those was the
Yeah.
answer, I would hope you would give me the other.
Yes.
Scotch, DUI.
Things Angie Dickinson would
Pall
say. Pall Mall.
Mall.
Jen Brewer.
Surprise! You're the winner. It's a daily double.
They're bringing back the $25,000 pyramid.
Yes,
Oh my
Just
God, are they?
throw it.
It's going to be
Yeah.
out on Sunday nights. Please find it and Google it because I've lost a big part of my sense of humor when people stopped getting my $25,000
Isn't
pyramid
love
joke.
Who's going to be doing that?
$25,000
Alex
Is
Baldwin?
Strahan doing it?
I can't. There's 3 hosts and they're alternating. They're kind of doing the McCloud mystery, the ABC Saturday Night Mysteries.
Another
I
reference
do.
nobody gets.
I
Right.
do appreciate that.
But we
actually,
do.
a
That's where
lot,
we get
yeah.
Macmillan and Wife from.
I'm-
It wasn't on every week.
Which, by
Well
the
aware.
way,
Branson was
one
too
of
big a
my
star to do a
favorites.
weekly series. No.
Yeah.
It was McCloud, McMillan and Wife, and there was a third show in
Columbo?
that series. Possibly Columbo.
By the way, all three I
According to
love.
Variety from January, yes, Michael Strahan
I thought it was
is hosting.
all 10 inches.
Because and Alec Baldwin has a show, and I think Aaron Harvey has the third. Or
Match
Steve
Game.
Harvey. Steve Harvey
Alec
has the
Baldwin
third one.
is doing Match
And
Game.
and
That's right.
and Betty White's on it. My mom said she's still just on it with the
I
whole
love
thing.
it.
Yeah, that
I love
looks
it.
really funny. But
Oh,
I
that's too bad,
I didn't know.
'cause Match
And
Game
clearly,
is
I was so
amazing.
interested that I already started because
I love
I
it.
didn't watch it. It started. I missed it. But
Yeah, I
Where,
think
where
it
are
was
they
just this
filming
last
so
week.
that I can go?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'm sure it's all
show
in
will
LA.
be taped.
$25,000.
Nope, in New York.
Really?
Yeah, if it's Alec Baldwin, he's almost always out of New York.
Yeah,
Well, and
$100,000
Strahan's there because of Good Morning America.
pyramid.
But they also tape those shows like in a week. They go and they tape 87 shows, and then that's why Hollywood Squares and Match Game all used to get all fucked up by the end of the week because everybody was drinking.
Well, sure.
They do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show, and then the Thursday, Friday show, or they're all after lunch. Woo!
A little more fun.
Brett Summers was wasted, and Charles Nelson
into it.
Riley.
And I think one of the problems
I think
with,
we should go to New York and try and get on the show.
with
think that'd
Matt,
be great.
because so many things were left kind of unsaid in the 70s, that's the innuendo was a little baffling. Like, there was probably a lot of people watching Match Game in the 70s that honestly didn't get how dirty the jokes were.
Oh no, you're 100% right.
That they just thought it was that everybody
Part of
was
the magic,
laughing.
though. Like that's
Yeah, that it was. But now I think there's
It's
they
all
can't
lost.
be as dirty
We're all hip
because
to that jive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, surprise! I didn't know you spoke jive. I hope you add that to your resume.
Surprise!
I'm gonna add it to my
I do
LinkedIn
speak
right
jive.
now.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.com. I'm going there right now.
Alec Baldwin's
Stuff.
Match Game, funny, smutty, and anti-Trump. Well, that's gotta
I like
It's got to
it.
have something going
I'm
for
into
it.
it.
I'm on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, my a million thanks whoever discovered Alec Baldwin
You're right,
was funny.
Aaron. It cannot be all that bad. I like it.
All right, kids, we're going to come back and we're going to go into entertainment with Al Perkins coming up in just moments. The drinking word is surprise! So if you are surprised or you're not, doesn't matter. You can get the word.
Sure. I can add a language to my LinkedIn. I'm doing it right now.
She's very busy.
Language. Jive.
Good. Well done.
All right, coming right back with entertainment. We got another section. We got to wrap up, and it's the end of our show for the 4th season. Before we take a little well-deserved break, we'll be right back. It's Q Talk America.
You've been listening to The Show on Q Talk America. This is Q Talk America.
The following broadcast contains adult humor, language, and topics, along with partial nudity. Actual knowledge is used sparingly. The show is a result of a lost bet and a bad game of rock, paper, scissors. It's The Show with Clayton McKee. And now, a man with a face for radio, Clayton McKee.
Hi again, everybody. It is The Show. It's a Tuesday night. Thank you for being with us. At this time, we're going to get right into it. It's Al Perkins in a little segment we call Entertainment.
I have a really depressing story about a 30-year anniversary. We're going to spoiler alert some Orange is the New Black.
For those listening from the future.
I have a movie review of a movie called The Lobster. We have ratings news about Game of Thrones, and then a little bit of news about Game of Thrones.
I like it.
And I think that's pretty much it.
In a follow-up from before the crossover, I did add Jive to the languages that I speak on my
Look at
LinkedIn.
you. Very
Updated,
good.
currently
I've
updated.
decided because it wants to know proficiency. So I've decided I'm pretty sure I have a limited working proficiency in Jive. Like I can get.
It's like you can't speak it. You
by.
can't speak it, but you can understand it.
I can get you
Right.
to the library and to the local bathroom.
I can get you there.
Right. That's
Like
good.
limited working proficiency in Jive. I'm never gonna get a real job.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever seen my LinkedIn, I'm never gonna get like a grown-up job.
I can donde está la biblioteca to you
Or
in Jive.
the funny part is, if somebody ever calls to recruit you for something, they're fantastic because they like that
I love them.
They like
Well,
that
you
res.
should see my paper resume. It's equally ridiculous.
I like it.
Someday you'll have to bring that in. We'll have to go over that.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Al can read
All right,
that.
entertainment, please go.
So,
I'm sorry.
Sir Bob Geldof, who ended up in a really strange
Didn't he hang out with
situation.
hobbits?
Yes, no, perhaps. I think that's Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, Bob
No,
Hoskins.
Gandalf the Grey. Never
Gandalf,
mind.
yeah. So, in a little bit of a personal thing, he ended up with a mutual ex or a person with Mike.
Mick Jagger.
No, and Hutchins.
Mike
Hutchins.
Hutchins.
Oh, Michael Hutchins.
Michael Hutchins from
NXS.
NXS. And there was kind of a little bit of a tainting of Bob Geldof's name in the settlement over the child. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the child recently killed herself. I think
I
Tiger
believe
Lily
that is
just
very
died.
true. Yeah.
Oh,
But anyways,
wow. This is a
so we are
great
now,
story so far.
But so the story is about Sir Bob and some of the things that came out later, because we are now at this weekend is the 30th anniversary of Live Aid.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Jesus, we're old.
And that's something.
Well, you're not, Kat, but we are.
And so, right after
people.
Live Aid, the author of this paper and the magazine Spin was at a dinner, and a friend talked about Ethiopia being in a civil war, and neither the author or anyone else at the table had heard that. It hadn't been covered in the American press. This was just 6 months after the Live Aid concerts in Philadelphia and London, and they had raised $100 million for famine relief. The next day, the author asked his sister, an assistant at Spin then, to research this, because if the country is at war, it would surely be difficult to move aid around and to get it to people who needed it.
Right.
In those days, without the internet, it was all microfiche and these things. But she said it took her almost no time to discover it was clear and very well evidenced that this famine, the awful depictions of which had pulled on the world's heartstrings, was man-made by government planes deliberately napalming rebel fields and farms. Every year, Ethiopia experiences some degree of drought, the worst ones bringing famine, but the country historically dealt with this. Some years were worse than others. In 1984, the famine that inspired the first Band-Aids, Do They Know It's Christmas, and then Live Aid was very bad, and people were dying of starvation, but the cause was less nature than cynical genocide, a fact apparently so easy to discover that an editorial assistant barely out of college did so in a matter of hours in the library. So this author asked a superb young investigative reporter named Bob Keating to look into it for a story, and he discovered that horrifically and unimaginably the opposite of what everyone hoped was happening. The Ethiopian dictator, whose name was Mengistu, until then deadlocked in the war, was using the money the West gave him to buy sophisticated weapons from the Russians, and was now able to efficiently and viciously crush the opposition. Ethiopia, then the third poorest country in the world, suddenly had the largest, best-equipped army in the African continent. By the time we had seen all the pictures and TV footage of Bob Geldof, the figurehead of Live Aid Bear, hugging and playfully punching this dictator in the arm as he literally handed over the funding for the slaughter. It was on TV now, all right, but as an endless, relentless reel of heroic highlights of Bob Geldof. He drenched himself in the adulation, and no one begrudged him it until our investigation exposed the Holocaust that Live Aid's collected donation had helped perpetrate on the Eritrean independence fighters, is how I'm saying we'll do that. Most damningly, Keating reported that Geldof was warned repeatedly from the outside by several relief agencies in the field about this dictator who was dismantling tribes, mercilessly conducting resettlement marches on which 100,000 people died, and butchering helpless people. Doctors Without Borders begged Geldof to not release the money until there was a reliable infrastructure to get it to the victims. He simply ignored them, instead famously saying, "I'll shake hands with the devil on my left and on my right to get to the people we were meant to help."
Wow.
So Spin published the story, and there was a great backlash against it, that people were saying it wasn't true, and Spin came out and said, just do the research.
Right, it's there.
It's there.
Now, when was this published?
6 months after Live Aid.
Okay, so this is not a news story.
No, this is, and
Okay.
so Spin is just celebrating the 30 years after Live Aid, because MTV's kind of making a big deal. There's been a lot of things about Live Aid. And then you find out that in the course of forgetting things over the course of history, you find out that Live Aid got debunked almost immediately as like, we gave money to terrorists. You know what I mean? We helped promote genocide.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Right, but it wasn't really a good deed because Bob Geldof knew.
Oh,
He
right.
knew what he was doing. So Bob Geldof was continually asked about this as they were reporting. They didn't want to discredit him. They wanted his word, and he wouldn't do it. And so the editors of Spin sent him 2 tape recorders and 2 tapes. Here's the list of questions. Record your answers and record them on both recorders. So you have a copy of the interview and we have a copy of the interview. And if at any point we misquote you or take you out of context
You have a
and you
copy of
feel
the
you've
tape.
been like libeled,
Right.
you have a chance to come back with the actual recording, and we'll stick to that. Very fair, I thought.
Sure.
He never replied, and the report came out in July of '86 that this is not an overstatement. It comprehensively exposed the fraudulent use of the charitable money by unmistakably the world's most brutal dictator and the naive, hubris-drenched, unwitting complicity of Live Aid and Geldof. After the story broke, Geldof claimed that they published it to punish him because he wouldn't grant the interview. They got terrific backlash on it, and eventually the Wall Street Journal ran an op-ed exonerating Spin and commending us for being brave enough to uncover the real story, unpopular as it was. This is one of those things that people read and no one wanted to believe it. But so this week, Spin is republishing the stories that we ran over a several-month period, starting with the first article, and it starts today. And it really is shocking. I have a feeling that I'm reading an article from like a year ago.
So do we know?
I'm sorry. I'm reading an article for a year ago, but this month marks the 30-year anniversary of the articles.
Got it.
Do we know? Okay, obviously we do know that when songs go on, there's royalties paid that continues on, and obviously there's usually a resurgence of time, for anniversaries and different things. There's a resurgence in the song's popularity. It's either reissued, it's remastered, it's re-released, so on and so on. Do we have any idea what's going on now? Like do they know it's Christmas? Every year it comes out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that he's not still, but you can't buy it. Maybe you can buy it. I don't think you can buy. Oh, you can buy a copy. You can't buy the extended version. That's why I had you burn that.
Right, you got on LP.
The extended version with everyone talking is no longer available, but the actual song.
But still, you can cite. So somebody's still making money on it. So I wonder now, where does that go?
Well, and this guy is no longer in power.
Okay.
There's been all kinds of regime changes. So you would hope that someone has taken over, and I don't know. That's a good thing to
And
look
figure
into
out if
and
it's-
find out where the money now goes. Like, did the Red Cross take it over? Did UNICEF take
Why
over?
do I feel
Did
like
another
Kat's
group?
already on this?
So
I'm looking.
The drought was natural, but the famine was man-made. It was very interesting, and even I had a vague memory of hearing this, but I only heard about the story not from Spin at the time or the local news, because I was moving out here. I was 19 years old. I wasn't on top of it. But when the divorce and custody settings were going on with Michael Hutchins from In Excess, that's where I got the backwards news of Geldof had made some mistakes and was like kind of betting on the wrong team. Instead of fixing it, he was enjoying all the adulation and didn't say like, okay, we raised a certain amount of money with Do They Know It's Christmas? Now that we have this stage to raise a lot of money, he really did ignore the people that were saying, like, wait for the infrastructure to make sure this money just doesn't get handed over to the dictator.
Because exactly what happened.
It gets through the organizations. And
Wow.
I talk about my friend Sarah Jean quite a bit, and the fact that she does disaster relief out of Japan. She's an
remember you
American
talking
married
about that,
married
yep.
to a Japanese man, lives over there, and she does disaster relief for a lot of the Ring of Fire, what would that be, Southeast Asia, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so she'll talk about when people come over to donate, the fact that she has to like intervene and be like, that's not the stuff we need. How about you send this, or this, or how about you just ask?
Sure.
Because blankets aren't the appropriate thing. Like
Right.
sometimes, a lot of times it's water that they need, not the things that you're sending. So it's clean water. So if what you're sending doesn't help provide clean water, you're kind of like, well, we're going to put all that stuff away.
Right,
We
thank
got
you,
all the
but-
blankets
We
we
don't
need.
need
Now
that,
we're on
right.
clear water. So it's kind of interesting to see this from all these different points of view when you think of disaster relief and what you're sending to the people that you go through the channels to make sure the money gets into the right hands. Same with the
I just had
the charities that are paying mostly the board of their charities and the money doesn't trickle
That's
down.
right. That's right.
I just had this odd analogy in my head of people that are surrounded by hundreds of bottles of wine and you send them bottle openers.
Right.
We need a corkscrew. Give me a goddamn
Exactly.
corkscrew.
Right. Can't get into this. It's a good call.
So now Aaron says the official DVD is the only authorized video release in which proceeds go directly to famine relief, the cause that the concert was originally intended to help. So at some point, and I'm going to assuming very soon after Spin was exonerated by the other newspapers who vetted the story, that they started to channel the money other places because, well, he may have been the titular head or the symbolic head of that USA for Famine Relief or whatever it was called.
USA for Africa?
USA for Africa, all those things. Although he's
Oh, wait,
not,
not USA for Africa. My bad.
Yeah, that's We Are the World.
Right.
I can't remember what his was called.
Stand by.
But I'm assuming that someone got on board and fixed that. But I just thought that was an interesting story, and it came through my news feed yesterday. And reading about all that, I'm like, oh, that does. But again, because we
So
kind
interesting, yeah.
of gloss over the
Band-Aid.
history.
Band-Aid.
Oh
Band-Aid.
no, yeah.
Yep.
Because like
That's right.
as we're talking about all these things about Clinton just got on board with gay marriage a few years ago. So did everybody else, and I had to put online like so did I. Before 2004, I'm like, that's a
Right.
dumb thing to fight for.
Right.
Right.
Like people are getting fired for their jobs. Why do we want to like go into someone's church and start telling them
Right.
we want to get married? And then when I had enough friends tell me like it's important to me, I'm like, all right, it's not the fight I would
I'm
pick,
on
but I
board.
guess that's
Do I
where
have to bring a
we're-
gift?
Yeah, shit. Does that require cookies? So there was the picture yesterday of
Does it require
Clinton being at
I love cookies.
the Pride parades in 2000, 2006,
I saw that.
2016.
Uh-huh.
What are those years in common? That was her first election to the Senate, her second election to the
Sure.
Senate, but she's not slamming gays. She's showing up at festivals to be like, vote for me, and standing up at Pride parades.
Right.
And she thought, but as you're glossing over history, and there's people now that are like, well, Clinton passed DOMA, but if you don't go back and look at the fight that was going on at DOMA and the intelligent people that thought, let's do this compromise, maybe a court can strike it down at some point, or the don't ask, don't tell. Like, we
Right,
went
it's a
from
big deal.
banning all gays and getting people living in the closet to this thing, and it didn't work
I remember
right.
feeling like Don't Ask, Don't Tell was amazing progress.
Yeah, because of the compromise. And if
Right.
you were alive at the times, but now years later it gets watered down. You're like, oh, that terrible policy was passed by the Clintons. as
the-
a compromise with a really, really worse idea.
Right.
And people in the military turned that into a terrible
thing, right?
That was just a fine thing. I'm not going to ask you. You don't have to tell me.
We don't have to
Everybody's
talk
good.
about it.
Nobody cares. Right. We don't have to
Because
talk
guess
about
what?
it.
We haven't talked about it.
Right. But then it turned into we're going to catch you and get you to confess so that we
Yes.
can kick you out. That's twisting
Right.
what it was
Right.
intended to do in the first place. It was intended to take that pressure off and to
If you feel
and
safe
to
enough
remove,
to tell me,
right,
now I
to
can
remove the obligation of the chain of command in investigating these
Right.
allegations. Like it was supposed to take that pressure off. Don't Ask, Don't Tell didn't start out evil.
Right.
People made it evil.
And the other thing I bring up about the 90s and bill is the crime bill in the 90s, which I, as a liberal and just about as far left as you can get, I thought the crime bill sounded like a good idea. I thought it was on the right track. You know, in theory, that 3 strikes you're out. Like everything on paper, as I read it, I thought, okay.
Right.
You know, I wasn't for NAFTA at all. I thought, not okay. But that one, and then...
Was that the 3 strikes?
I think the crime bill is part of 3 strikes you're out.
Okay.
But then as you watched it roll out, you're like, oh my God, this is the worst idea in history. But I would have been one of those people at the time saying, well, the 3rd time you get arrested, yes, you should go to jail for life. Right. Not thinking like, holy shit, what were the 3 things for? Right.
Exactly. Because it was promoted as being murder, like, you know, it was this.
And then you didn't realize how they would water down the crimes.
Yeah.
And there's people that I knew that seems reasonable. That seems like a good idea. And you're like, the minute that went wrong, you're like, oh shit, that one's on me too, because I thought it sounded perfectly reasonable.
Oh
Like,
my God, it got rid of higher education for inmates too.
yes.
Huh.
So there's all those things that you just have to go back and just read a little, as there's all this bashing going on of people across the board.
Well, and hindsight,
And like the one thing is, like, if you go back,
Yeah.
Trump comes out a little better in some of these stories.
Sure.
Went to a gay wedding.
Sure.
Was pro-choice.
But
pretty early. You know what I mean? Like,
the hindsight stuff, you know, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I mean,
Right.
it comes back and you go, oh, you know, like Aaron's saying, you thought he was okay. You know, that Don't Ask, Don't Tell might be an okay thing. You were thinking it got a conversation going. If
right.
nothing else.
That it had never been before.
Right. And so was it good? Was it bad? I don't know. But 20 years later, we now have the Supreme...
Because, and who knew the world would turn that much
Absolutely.
further?
Yeah.
And the one thing
And
with
quite
DOMA,
frankly, that
especially,
quickly,
if you go back and read about DOMA, what they had the will, they had the president... Did they have the presidency? They didn't have the presidency, but they had enough, I think, to override a veto. Like, that ban, that constitutional ban on marriage in the 90s was almost a thing. It came very close.
Mm-hmm.
So the Defense of Marriage Act was one of those, we'll not repeal an amendment, but this, and then they tried like 10 years later to pass the amendment. I think in like 04 or 05, the Congress again, when it was all Republican with a Republican president, they tried again to get a constitutional amendment about marriage.
Was that the one that...
And it failed, luckily.
I was wondering if that's the one with McCain, but I'm getting things screwed up where McCain...
Oh, you never know where McCain's going to land.
That's a good point.
You just never know.
Where we signed, like, none of that shit's ever going to happen. Or was that in 08?
It's so hard
Do you know
to
what
say.
I'm talking
yeah,
about,
but
where-
McCain has been part of so many weird battles over time and
Okay.
comes and goes, and in getting rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell and letting people serve openly, McCain kept changing the line of like what we had to cross. You had to prove that there was no harm. You had to prove that the Israeli army was no different, that the British army was no different from having gay. Then we had to prove this wouldn't happen. And every time they would prove it, he would like make the line a little bit further.
Fuck you.
So
You
that
did
was
that.
that
Okay,
was the
here's a
fight in
little more.
08 where we kept signing. But I think it was like in 04. It was before everything went wrong for Bush, so it had to be before 05, before Katrina, that the that really
really bad
that constitutional thing came through.
Okay.
So that's entertainment, and I just thought that was an interesting way to look at the history of stuff. The movie The Lobster, especially since you played that ad that you played about the singles, is what the movie The Lobster is
I
about.
saw the description of that. That was crazy.
Crazy, and it's this. I think he's Danish. Let me IMDb it and find out.
And
I think you're right, Aaron.
an old future ex-wife of mine, Rachel Weisz, is in it.
Yes,
I love her.
and she is. She's just as lovely as they come.
I heard Rachel and almost got mad.
No.
Dow.
I don't want your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Good.
Dow.
We have the same haircut.
Academy
okay with me.
Award winning. Let's find out where Yargos is from.
I have strict guidelines about you and I cannot have the same haircut if we're going to be in a relationship. So Maddow is out.
Okay.
Okay, so everything
that's true.
I don't think
everything
she's
about
confused
this
as a
says
boy,
Greek,
though.
so I apologize for thinking that was it. It is about a hotel where you go to when you get single, and you have 45 days, and you can earn days. You can find ways to earn days, but you have 45 days to find a mate, or you will be turned into an animal.
Of your choice.
Of your choice.
Oh my God.
And the funny thing is
Why did you
that
pick a lobster?
because they
'Cause
live
they-
underwater, they mate for life, and he
Oh.
enjoys the sea. But the acting
She's your
style
lobster.
is oh, he's
Right.
my
Aw,
lobster.
nice.
He's your
my
lobster.
Smelly cat. Oh,
See?
smelly cat.
What are they feeding you?
What?
Surprise! It's fish.
I need to keep watching TV series like in their entirety.
And Friends is a great one. Even though I watched it in real time, I still
I
went
did
back
too.
and watched the whole thing over again.
Yeah, I just
because
did
I
last year.
have that kind of free time. So, anyways, this movie, it's Colin Farrell, Rachel Weisz, and Jessica Barden, but I have to find this actress's name that just gets it done.
Is Rachel Weisz the
Olivia
lobster?
Colman is the hotel manager. And it's just so many what the fuck moments. And the way that they do the acting is kind of like third graders doing a stage play. It is the worst line readings in history. And the one guy goes, I have a limp. It is my defining characteristic. So he needs to find somebody else with a limp or they can never be happy. If the one thing that you think defines you, you can't find someone to meet that perfectly, you can't be with anybody. Kind of like what you do. Oh, he's not brown. I can't like him. You know what I mean? And it very much,
Rude.
but it sums up how we all date. Like in that way of like, oh no, I can't even look at you. You're not the
Deal
right color.
breakers.
Yeah, deal breakers. And though in this one
Well,
it's
and that
short-sightedness.
was sound advice from some friends of mine. There was a time when I was single and they were like, okay, well, what's on your list? I'm like, what are you talking about, my list? Well, what are your list of like have to haves and can't haves in a partner? Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm just going to dinner with nice people. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have a list, and then I stressed out for like 3 weeks about a list.
And I made a list. Somebody said that to me too, and I made
Did
a
you
list.
make a list? How'd that
fuck
go for
yeah.
you?
I can show you the list.
But you know
Of
what?
course you kept the
He's
list.
still in that single ad.
Is it laminated?
No.
Oh, just
Oh,
checking.
why? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Was your laminator broken?
I don't own a laminator.
I do.
Well, you didn't bring it over.
Well,
I don't need to laminate the list. Because
I'm looking at you the same way I look at people who died young and needlessly.
But you know why?
How can you be a complete person without a laminator?
There's no reason to laminate it because what if it changes?
It's not supposed
It's
to
a
change.
Word document.
They're supposed to
You
be. They're
gr-
supposed to
no.
be. No.
Yeah.
The list is
Your
supposed to be
non-negotiables.
No.
non-negotiables. They have to have.
Yeah.
For example, smart things, job.
Do
Yep.
they drive to work? That's the number one thing.
That's a non-negotiable.
But you don't want to take that off the list. You could
No.
laminate.
Feel free to
that.
laminate
Well,
to the point
you can
of where it
laminate.
says.
Like there's 27 things on the list. You can laminate 23 of them, and there's 4 that.
Well,
Yeah,
then put the 23 here. Laminate down to that.
I guess so.
But as I've always
Perhaps.
said,
But how do you
mine has
back it out of
been
the laminator?
lightly abridged to: do you have somewhere to be for a large part of the
day. Or night.
week, year?
Yeah.
Like, I just need you to have to go somewhere. I don't care where it is. It could be an emergency at CVS that requires your attention.
We're gonna change the
You
song.
can
It's
get
called
there by
Get There.
airplane.
It's called Get There, not Get
Just
Here.
go there if you
Go
can.
there if you can.
Just go away, if you will.
Yes, as long as you have somewhere
Just
else
crazy.
to go.
Yes.
But Jessica Barden as the not Jessica, Olivia Colman as the hotel manager, and any of you that watch Beautiful People on I think it was on Bravo about it was the true story of the young kid in England who grew up to be the window dresser at Barney's in New York. He grew up to be Rhoda, basically.
It sounds very Bravo to me.
But it was such a fun story of this young gay kid and his single mom and his neighbor and his best friend that he was growing up with, and it was called Beautiful People, and it was just a lovely,
Sounds
lovely
like
show.
Billy Elliot.
It is a little bit. Well, and the director of that made a movie that I really like that's called The Real Thing.
Window dresser.
Yeah. So
Different than window liquor, by the way.
Oh yes.
So
Wear a helmet.
Game of Thrones has put out that even though they do 10 episode seasons each, that they have about 13 episodes left. They're not calling an official end date, but they're saying there's 13 episodes left that they have of the story that they have to tell.
Yeah.
Which means, are they going to divide it up in like 6 and 7?
I think they're going to do a 7 and 6.
Or are they going to do like an extended season? So there's all kinds of uproar. But they did just have their highest ratings and they're at like 8.9 million or something crazy, 8.7 or 8.9 million. And this is on a pay cable
It's
station.
some crazy shit.
And this doesn't include all the people that steal it from somewhere else. This is
Right.
actual people watching on the thing that they subscribe to, not
Oh.
counting who's stealing it, who's watching it on YouTube, who's borrowing someone's account. So for that to be a paid cable when there's a lot of shows that would be happy on free
On
prime
network,
time to
right.
have 5 million viewers, that something that you're paying for has that many legitimate viewers, and that's not plus same day plus 7, same day plus 3, like all those TV shows rely on like who watched it on DVR,
Mhm.
the live plus 7, the live plus 3. So that's a really huge number for something that's a paid service. And so they have the end near. I started watching that because I'm going to be away, and sometimes people sleep when I'm not sleeping. So I
Sure.
was like, I need to set something up that there's
Yeah.
some episodes of.
Well, and this.
But I also don't care because I don't think the show is all that great. So I've watched the end of a couple different. Like I watched the season finale the other day, even though I'm 5 seasons behind. I watched the Red Massacre in season 3 because I'm like, I don't really care that much. Like no one.
But
There's
I
like
just
2
wanna
people
know.
that can act. And you have all this imagination. Like you can imagine a world with dragons and kingdoms, but women are just whores and have no power.
Well, but that's the thing.
It's improving. As I've watched
was gonna say-
finales, the women are coming into their own.
Yeah,
but-
and it's very, very typical in the sort of like medieval fantasy genre. It's very, very typical for the women to just be, marriage tools and whores and
Yeah.
whatever. Like that's very, very typical because that's how it was in 14th century England, which all this shit is kind of based on, and
Right, but it's also mythical because it's a whole nother land and there's dragons.
right. But what's actually started to happen as the storylines evolve, because I've been on board since the beginning. I read all the books.
Yeah.
I think I read all the books before the end of season 2 because Sharon was into it. She's like, "Oh my god, you got to watch this," and I realized it was books in the genre that I love to read. So they were gone. But what has evolved and what is standing at the spoiler alert? Turn the show off now. People of the future who have
5,
not
4, 3, 2, 1.
right, whatever. And I'm going to come back to that too, put a pin in that. But what has happened in all of these storylines is that the men are typically like boorish and dumb and stupid and just wade their way into being killed, and it's only the women left.
Right.
Like
Which
this
I've
is
kind
where
of
we're at
enjoyed,
right now. So I would love to see you watch it all the way through and join us for next season, because right now where the storylines stand.
Oh no, I watched season 6 season finale because again I don't really care. I'm not that invested, so I don't care about spoilers.
Oh, that was fantastic with the fire and the kill everyone, kill them all.
There was a terrorist attack.
It was wonderful.
Okay,
that was great. We were cheering. But yeah, the interesting part of that is that it's now a very strong female focused story.
And they hired some people in season 2 that can act because that really weighed down season 1. Was like
sure. Well, season 1 could have gone any direction because this is a very specific nerdy kind of a genre that doesn't always capture a mainstream audience like it has. Like it's really
right, and they also
very
didn't pay
wide...
anybody any money, so they have Peter Dinklage can act.
Oh.
And there's
I
that.
love his character. I've always loved his
and what
character.
Hetty? What's her name?
Cersei.
Yeah, Cersei. What's her Lena Headley?
Yeah.
I think it's Lena Headley.
That sounds right. You're making all the right sounds.
I mean, but it comes through where you're like, okay, now these people can act, and they bring
yes,
in
Lena Headey.
Yeah, Natalie
Who
Dormer.
Outside of all of that, like makeup and getup, is gorgeous.
Yeah. And Natalie Dormer comes in. Like, they've got some people that can act. The kids grew up a little bit. Clearly, in the break between season 1, they're in season 2. They're like, we're going to need to learn to convincingly scream for fire when our hair is... scream for water when our hair is on fire.
Mhm.
That's funnier if you get the joke right.
Jokes off.
But then, so now, spoilers. We need our support group for Orange is the New Black.
Oh, my God.
That's
Amina.
not... You can hear us better now. Well, we won't go into specifics.
All right.
What
have you been doing the last week and a half?
Traveling, I know.
The fuck?
That's what happens when the internet goes down. So I will have to tell you, I thought, and I just want to make sure that I say it absolutely right, because I think
that would be
Uzo Aduba is just the actress of a generation at this
Yes.
point. Like, and now because the Emmys will be announced next month, the Emmy nominations will be announced next month, it will be for season 3, not for season 4.
Okay.
Because they missed the deadline for releasing it. So they're always a year behind with the Emmys on Orange is the New Black. It's not immediate gratification.
Okay.
The last 3 episodes with Suzanne
were so the last 3 episodes were so hard to watch. They
so
were
incredibly powerful,
very real, and very disturbing.
What the whole season had to say about the prison industrial complex and for-profit prisons and what we're doing to people.
It's the worst idea ever. I don't know why we were thinking that was a good idea ever.
Because money. Because America.
I like money a whole lot, but I don't.
For-profit prisons. So much to say about that. How we treat people in the country with mental health issues at any level is addressed so thoughtfully, and it doesn't offer a solution. It just holds up the mirror and like, this is what you're doing to people in your country that have mental health problems. This is what you've done.
Yeah.
And Suzanne,
you're getting
Crazy
them
Eyes,
trapped in a system, and then you're sending them to live out the rest of their miserable lives in a place called Psych.
And the episode, because I realized, because you have my wiki, like I have it here, my wiki for Game of Thrones, because they're just speaking gibberish.
Sometimes.
So I watch the episodes. When I wake up, I just read what the synopsis was, because I'm like, that was just nonsense.
I love that. If you're watching them on like HBO Go or Now,
at the end they have a little recap that's very helpful.
It's very helpful.
They go scene by scene and give you a little breakdown.
Yeah, here's what they're thinking. Here's what's coming next. That's very nice for Game of Thrones.
So I had to. Well, Wiki has Orange is the New Black page. So I had to kind of. Because I was like, I don't think we know what Suzanne did to get into prison. I was like, I honestly couldn't remember what her
and then
crime
they showed
was.
us the episode.
So then when the episode started, I was like, oh, it's going to be this. Oh, it's going to be this. Oh, it's going to be this. And then I just said, and I was in shock. I did not move off my couch for probably about 15 minutes. I just could not move. When they showed how she got to prison, I said
Lord,
numb, heartbroken, disgusted,
you just
sad.
Can't even believe it.
Felt like I'd been run over by a bus. I honestly could not believe they handled that just so well. There was just no exploitation of that. It was just a simple story of how a day can go so wrong. And then Lori Petty, as Amina calls her,
Petty was amazing.
Prison Ellen, and then just a brilliant performance of mental illness. And paranoia, and I was dumbfounded by her performance and how it ended. And one of the things, I'll give one little spoiler away, is, it's not really, but it won't make any sense to you. Healy, the counselor, the prison counselor, you get his backstory, and you find out that mental illness is part of his whole life. And his dad says to him, when he asks what's wrong, and his dad goes, it's something that only happens to women. And
for him to end up in a women's prison, I'm like, how?
But absolute mic drop of, and it's just a little line. It gets no attention. It's something that only happens to women.
Pay attention to that.
But it does. But he doesn't hear it.
Right.
Or I don't know.
Right.
Does he not hear it, or is that all he hears?
Little Sam Healy goes, okay, I don't have to worry about it.
Can't recognize his own problems with depression because his father told him it only happens to women.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, such a profound, just a little tick of like, oh wow, that says a lot. That's what he was taught, that this could only happen to women. So but if so, honest to God, get to it, get through it. Season 3 is a letdown because season 2 was so good that season 3 seems a little pale, a little weak applesauce, but boy, does season 4 come back kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And one of the people that I work with, we were talking about it, and she was disappointed that it wasn't longer. Like, she felt let down that it ended and that she has to wait because she wants more on...
We've been feeling that way every year for 4 years.
What's her name that got sent to Max?
Sophia Brissett?
No, the hot girl.
The Australian?
The Australian.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose. You didn't get enough of her.
I don't remember what the fuck her character. Well, because she's, I don't think she's on the show.
No. But just that little taste made you want, like, I would like a whole story about
what's going on with her,
right. Yeah, like you're so invested in these characters that you see them for a minute, like, oh, I wish we could have talked.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Oh, and Nichols came back. I loved that.
Yes, and the fact that they could only touch on Sophia and that the nun story, just brilliant.
Yes, sir.
Oh, when he's done, I have 2 things.
You had your pen up. 2 things.
No, I just have 2 things. Are we done with entertainment?
Sure.
Are you going to chime in on something else on that?
Sure.
No,
she
on
has something
that.
to say about spoilers.
Oh, on what did I have to say? Okay, the thing I had to say about spoilers. 24 hours at minimum, people. Like, come on.
Right.
24 hours and then post all your memes and shit, but settle down. I had somebody kind of fuck up Game of Thrones for me on my Facebook, and I appropriately scolded them because it was within 24 hours of the original airing. I'm like, settle the fuck down.
And I ruined.
I watch it very quickly.
I ruined Orange is the New Black for myself because I couldn't decide if it was me or myself, so I decided to say they both.
Smart.
I was trying to find out from the season finale of episode 3 because that joyous ending with the lake and
with
the swimming
lake
and the
everybody's
baptism
free,
and
right.
everything and everybody's free. I was like, oh, where did they film them? Like, I wonder if in the trivia part of IMDb it says like where they filmed it, how they handled it, like who could swim, who couldn't. You know,
Right.
that's always interesting trivia. I just wanted a little background on that episode, and I ended up Googling the last episode of season 4 and looking at that trivia. So I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew what was going to happen.
Right.
So there was a sense of dread, and then they still surprised me. So a spoiler, if you're into the story, it doesn't matter if you know what's coming. I figured out Sixth Sense from the commercial the night before. Still enjoyed the movie.
Well, sure. But, you know, just for the people on the internet, 24 hours. Yes.
Anant had asked about your, and I don't believe you've seen Finding Dory, have you?
No.
No, I have not either, and I can't wait to.
Oh, me too, but I need the kids go away.
Oh, I thought you said you had seen it.
No, I tried and I couldn't do it.
And you, Kat?
I haven't seen it yet.
I want to see it.
I don't know if my kids
but
really
I'm
do.
like him. I need it to be a few weeks out where the kids have all decided they're all
We
done.
need to go on a
Completely
Monday
with you.
night.
But I also want to
Or
watch
wait until
Finding Nemo
September.
again.
Yeah.
And then I want to do it. I don't know that I necessarily, but I want
It's
to
like a 13-year.
refamiliarize myself with all the characters.
Just keep swimming.
There's a song at the end with the ending credits, and that's what Anant has.
Mrs. Paul's fish sticks are wonderful.
That's what he was asking about, and it was interesting because Pixar movies usually have more upbeat kind of things.
Right.
The
Usually
end
by
of
Randy Newman.
right. And it's not. It's actually, and I believe I'm pronouncing this right. So help me, Sia.
Yes.
Is that
Sia.
okay? Sia did a remake of Unforgettable for it.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, like, it was this.
Oh, that's kind of fitting with her affliction.
Yeah, and it was the fact that it was unforgettable, and yet Dory completely forgets everything, and I
don't get
I
it.
guess it was kind of a
Bummer.
no. That was the
Oh.
thing. Like, it made sense, but for it to be this Pixar movie. And all of a sudden be this unforgettable, you know,
Maybe.
kind of new and different. So, Anant, we haven't seen it yet, and so I thought that at least Al had seen it for some reason.
Maybe we'll get back to you in August on that one.
So in August, hopefully by then,
Yeah,
kids will
you
be
never
back
know.
to school at the beginning of August.
I'm
so.
hoping so.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
we'll
it's
be able to see
available
it.
for streaming on my Spotify account. I can listen to it later.
Oh, as far as the song, yeah,
Oh.
but it kind of I guess it was really cool how it tied it in.
How it tied in.
How it tied in together, yeah.
Two things.
We'll get back to you on that.
A friend of mine who oddly is from my hometown, lives here in Phoenix as well, just tagged me in a story on the Facebooks. Oddly, headline, Joplin, Missouri, my hometown. News reports out of Missouri are claiming that actor Tom Hanks has been selected for jury duty in Joplin, Missouri, and will be required to attend a criminal trial in Joplin starting next month. The trial, which has not yet been named, is scheduled to last roughly 3 weeks. Hanks owns property in the Joplin area, and based on Missouri law, can be required to serve on a jury. Hanks' publicist confirmed the news and stated that he was, quote, happy to fulfill his civic duty as a member of a jury in Joplin. Social media is abuzz with the news that Tom Hanks will be spending a few weeks in Joplin, with many of his fans being a little more than excited about the prospect of seeing him in their hometown. I did not know Tom owned property around there. And unrelated news to entertainment, I just thought I would share this with you. We announced last week on the show that Katie June had delivered her two twins. And this picture was posted today on Katie's Facebook explaining her current daily status. And it looks like this.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that is just a gorgeous picture.
Isn't that adorable? So,
and I have not been on, short of like just posting certain things. Erin's been the one doing most of that, but she had put out the name, released the name, if you will, of one, but not both.
I don't believe
Has
so,
she?
and I
Okay.
honestly couldn't tell you. I
Okay.
honestly couldn't tell you. But the first thing I thought of when I saw this picture was, I don't know which one's which, but the other thing is, like, you know, later on, Well, you've always been her favorite. Look
Yeah.
at yeah. I was in a
this.
I was in a bassinet off the side.
Yeah, but see, the good news is she could be like, no, that was really you.
Yeah, she can always sell that, right?
Just
Yeah.
lie.
I know which
'cause
one that is.
But I thought that was a cute
I'm not
picture of how
seeing any
tiny
kind
they are.
I know it. They're just
Yeah.
little.
Hope to see them before they get.
I like
all
seeing
grown up.
Katie June sleeping.
Sleeping is probably. She's probably really happy about that.
I'm sure she is.
Yes. Good
That's
gosh.
great.
All right, Carlson, do you have something, or are we gonna? What are we doing?
Yeah. What do I want to do? Okay. Let's talk about. I think I only have a single subject.
It's quite all right.
Section.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
No, nothing.
Let's talk about you and me.
Nothing nearly
Let's
so
talk
fun.
about all the good things
and the bad things that may be.
Let's talk about sex.
All right, Cat Carlson.
Let's talk about guns.
Oh,
guns.
Different. All right.
Yeah. You know, I tried to cut you off at the pass, but
it didn't happen.
There was no stopping that
Yeah,
train.
that train was coming.
But I thought we sounded great.
Does the name, and it's fairly recent news, does the name Christy Sheets ring a bell to anybody?
It does
Christy
not.
Sheets now?
Christy Sheets is a...
I was hoping somebody would get this story.
What's that?
I was hoping somebody would get this story.
Were you?
Mhm.
Christy Sheets is a mother of 3, yes? 2. Lives in Texas. 2... No, I think 3 daughters. Vocal gun advocate. Said something to the effect on her Facebook just recently about...
I now know what you're talking
Yeah, about Democrats just trying to remove her ability to protect her family.
Right. Sorry.
She shot them all.
What?
Yeah, she shot them all. She called a family meeting. She had, in some of the reading that I've done, she had been separated from the family and had been, living away.
Right.
Had some depression, some mental illness, some different things happening. Called a family meeting. Lost her shit. Chased her people out into the street and shot them down. Went back into the house, reloaded, and came back out to shoot her daughter. Again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, came back out to shoot her. Gun advocate. Worried about all of
Protecting her family.
Protecting her family.
Stop texting me in the middle of a sad segment. Good Lord. Sharon.
Doesn't she know?
Don't you know we're talking about this shit?
Wow. Never go to family meetings. I agree with Aaron. on
Yeah.
that one.
Oh, yeah.
That's a surprise.
Authorities
Wow.
on Monday say that Christy Sheets, who's 42, convened a family meeting inside her home on Friday evening before opening fire on her 2 daughters, 22-year-old Taylor Sheets and 17-year-old Madison Sheets. Christy Sheets' husband, Jason Sheets, was also present in the living room but was not injured. All 3 managed to scramble out of the house through the front door, but the younger daughter collapsed and died. Christy Sheets shot her older daughter again as she ran into the street, then went back inside her home to reload her 5-shot 38 caliber handgun, and then returned to shoot Taylor Sheets once more. A police officer killed Christy Sheets with 1 shot around 5 p.m. after she refused to drop her weapon. Her husband has managed to safely run all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac on the street. Shootings have shocked family and friends. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and,
Clearly.
thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
Oh, and a moment of silence, please.
Yeah.
For the love of
I felt like I had to bring this up because for every person that gives me that whole defending my family bullshit, it is so much more likely that you will be injured or killed than you actually stopping an intruder.
And killed by...
Well, and
killed by a family member.
Killing in the name of my Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
Like, don't take
Yeah.
away my guns because then I can't kill my family.
Yeah.
Don't take away my guns because then I need to blow up Oklahoma City. I mean, it's ridiculous, Kat.
Isn't it crazy?
Yes, a surprise, she's dead. That's it.
Surprise.
Yeah.
So, and I sent, and I don't know if we should play it, but I sent you the link if you want, and I put the link in the chat room. You can hear the 911 call.
I don't want to play that.
I don't want to hear that either.
But
Wow.
there it is, and it's
But
all
listen
on
to it
tape.
on your own.
Yeah.
And now, in kind of a tangent here, I also have an article from IKEA. Apparently, 3 children.
Oh, about that dresser?
3 children were killed by pulling a dresser down on themselves, and so IKEA has recalled or offered to repair and attach to the wall some 9 million dressers worldwide.
9 million.
Yeah, if you have an old dresser, they'll come out and they'll put the brackets on it and attach it to the wall. If you have a new dresser and just want to return it, they'll take it back.
Right.
3 children died. 3 people.
Like, in one instant?
No,
just in time.
No, she's
separate-
saying that 3 people died from one dresser, and they've recalled the entire thing
Got it.
and changed the
Because
way
millions.
they think.
The way I heard
but
that, I'm
millions
like,
die from gun
Right.
violence,
Right,
and
right,
we
right.
do
Yeah.
nothing because
right.
what will that change?
Right. They've recalled millions. And
I'll be the cat
That's okay.
translator.
Very much.
Yeah.
Because
There
Because
also was
the
no
next
moment of
statistic-
silence, I don't think, about these dressers, was there?
No, I don't.
No, they just
I don't
did
think
something.
So. They
They
just
went
said,
with
you know
action.
what?
I am sending thoughts and prayers, though.
three kids have died from this dresser over the past. I think this style dresser has been out for, I know for a fact, at least 10 years because I have 2 of them.
Well, there's 9 million out there. It's been out a while.
There's a bunch out there. It's a
Yeah.
really popular design.
Yeah.
Wow.
And as you know,
Actually,
I
I think Michael has 2 in that room. I think there are actually 2 in this house.
IKEA dressers.
Oh, I know there's more than that for IKEA furniture, but I think the 2 that
The
he has
two, the recalled,
are
the Malm, M-A-L-M.
Yeah, I think so. But
Yeah.
I'll tell him to be careful.
there's in San Francisco. There's a little boutique hotel called the Diva, and I didn't know what IKEA was when I stayed there. So checking into the hotel, and Harrison and I were traveling, and I was like, "What the fuck is the furniture in this room?" I'm like, "Am I supposed to file something in that? What is that?" And she was like, "Oh, it's an IKEA dresser." I'm like, "All right, what the fuck is IKEA, and why would you why am I supposed to put clothes in that fucking thing?" And that was how I was introduced to them. And then I was like, they weigh nothing. You put them together with like glue and hope in your living room.
And one Allen wrench.
One
little Allen
and
wrench.
an Allen wrench.
Yes.
So of course they're not going to be
Do
weighty
not
enough to not
over-tighten.
tip over
Do
with
not
a little
over-tighten.
tugging.
Right.
They don't,
And
you know.
hope.
Oh, yeah.
They're it's flim flam. It's flim flam.
It is
Flam.
flim flam.
Surprise! It's flim flam.
I've moved my dressers, I think, 3 times now, and I think the next move will be their last. Like, they just won't
Right,
survive
you can't.
it
No,
again.
right.
You can't move them
They're
too
not
many
made
times.
to be moved all over the place.
No, not at all. But yeah, just put a little perspective into it as you're worried about protecting your home. Because last summer alone, only last summer, and only in this country, because this is where we're obsessed with all the guns, 4,000 people were killed by gunfire last summer.
Just last summer.
Just last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Summer
Right.
2015,
Not all
4,000
the
people.
seasons.
Yeah, more than 9,000 wounded, 4,000 dead. But nobody's worried about it. In fact, I'm very concerned that you're going to take that gun out of my hand. I can't stand it.
And the one thing that plays heavy into that, in case you're wondering why summer, people are out intermingling more. It's hot and they're miserable. In the cold, you get your business done quick. You
Yeah,
don't
get
linger.
your
You're
shit
gone.
done,
You don't
get
have time to
home.
get pissed off because it's too fucking cold.
Right.
So there is something to be said about those places that gets hot and all of a sudden everybody's outside and
Yeah.
finding out what their neighbors are like and realizing, I'm not a fan.
Right, right.
So for those of you that are out there, fighting the good fight, remember Christy Sheets because she's a cautionary tale.
As was the
Against-
mother of the kid in Newtown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, she was a big gun owner.
Gun advocate and killed by her own guns by her son, who then took the guns and shot
Nope.
dozens of other people.
In fact,
And killed children.
wasn't that gun that he used, wasn't that a gift from her?
I
Am I-
can't remember if
I
one
don't
of them
remember.
was, but they
was to him.
But the rest were
But the
her
rest
guns
were
still
hers.
were stolen from her.
Yeah.
But he killed her with her own gun, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Well,
Just craziness.
I still have time, and Amina wants to talk about Jesse Williams, so we can talk about Jesse Williams. Jesse Williams is an actor on Grey's Anatomy, and he made
Beautiful beyond reason.
Oh my God, he's so those eyes are
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
like
beautiful.
I
He
mean,
makes my pussy hurt.
Yeah.
Wow, there's that.
I have trust issues with people that don't have brown eyes. I can't explain it, but still, his eyes are beautiful. He's just beautiful.
Okay. All right.
But Jesse Williams, beyond being beautiful and on Grey's Anatomy, is also a very, very local, or not local, very, very vocal and relentless supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement. He received on the BET Awards the Humanitarian Award, and of course delivered an acceptance speech. During his powerful acceptance speech, the actor spoke truthfully about the terrible treatment of black families and why it's so important to speak up about the systemic racial issues that plague America. He says, we know that police somehow manage to de-escalate, disarm, and not kill white people every day. So what's going to happen is we're going to have equal rights and justice in our country, or we will restructure their function and ours, Williams told the audience. The quote that's going on all the memes is, he says, the thing is that just because we're magic does not mean we're not real. But the part that the quote of his that I liked the most, he said, the burden of the brutalized is not to comfort the bystander. He said, that's not our job. Stop with all that. If you have a critique for the resistance, for our resistance, then you'd better have an established record of critique for our oppression. If you have no interest in equal rights for black people, then do not make suggestions for those who do. Sit down.
Yeah.
That's the part of the speech that I was like, I'm in.
Yeah. I gotcha.
I'm right behind you.
That's
so
awesome.
that's been running around the internet rather rampantly. So who's looking for that? Amina? There it is.
Yeah, and as there's a story during Pride in San Francisco, and a really thoughtful conversation on my friend David Van Beerden's page about the Black Lives Matter pulled out of San Francisco's Pride, and I think they were supposed to be the Grand Marshals, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Of the Pride Parade. But when the police decided they were going to up their presence to keep people safe at the Pride Parade, Black Lives Matter was like, no, because you wouldn't do that for us. Like, they stepped out at the last minute. So some of the members
because
of
of
the
there
gay
being
community...
more police presence because of Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay.
So some of the members of the gay community were thinking, like, are we not standing in solidarity? Why back out at the last minute? What is this about? And it was a really thoughtful conversation that I got to read and just add a tiny 2 cents into. Was about how we respect each other's different problems with the same entity. Like, yes, the police are now where the riots 30 years ago that we're celebrating this month are against the police and police brutality, just being a nuisance, police harassment. I think harassment is a word.
Yep.
Some might have felt brutalized by them. That we fought the police back in the 60s, and now they're painting gay pride flags on their cars. There are many cities, when you see the Pride Parade, the police march in some fashion in solidarity. So the Black Lives Matter is kind of saying, yeah, but they're still killing us. And in San Francisco, that scandal of the racial tweets are still coming out, caught with racist emails, racist statements that they keep coming.
Yeah.
And the Black Lives Matter was like, no, they're failing us. We're gonna skip out on this with you. And so it's an interesting way to look at. Yes, we are fighting for the same thing over here, but we're fighting differently. So we have to acknowledge your fight is different than ours. Go do what you have to do. When we can come together peacefully and fight for the same thing, we will. But we have to say, like, you're not dissing us.
Go lead your men. I'll see you on the other side.
I'll see you on the other side of the war. I mean, it really was an interesting article to read. And if you get a chance to read anything about this protest and it's not like black v gay. It's very much about how two different cultural entities are dealing with one specific other force, and you have to see how to protect and serve, honor you or dishonor you is kind of how to say it. Right. But very interesting to read.
Before we move on to what I'm assuming will be our final segment, I had a thought on two different things, and I wanted to get a thought on it off of both people.
Two things.
This is the second time I've had two things tonight.
I like it.
One of them was anybody see the meme that was posted today that actually I shared? It says legal marijuana sales in the U.S. were over $5.4 billion with a B billion dollars in 2015, and what that basically means is $5.4 billion was taken from Mexican cartels and given to local small businesses. I just figured there'd be comment on, because it seems to me that if you can legalize this and tax it everywhere, nobody anywhere has a deficit in any city. They can fund everything. It just seems to me. Maybe I'm missing something, but it's like, fuck. If that's what people are willing to spend their money on and not have to give it to some guy in an alley behind a dumpster, and then the money gets funneled back to the cartel, it seems to me like this is the way we should be going.
Yeah, you can have farmers growing and cultivating this. You have merchants doing it. People that all this knowledge that they have from sitting in their basement smoking different kinds of weed can be your ambassadors, if you will, for pot. It really, really, really is just and it's, to me, the Republican thing should be
really long time
to be like anti, interventionist government. You don't want them intervening in your lives or this stuff.
Right.
You don't want to arrest people for personal choices they make at home, according to Republicans.
Unless Reagan hated it.
Unless it's your uterus.
Unless Reagan hated it.
Right. No. So then you're back to let this go on, and then you stop giving the supply and the demand to drug cartels or people. You keep it kind of safe and honest and have it regulated and get those tax dollars into our schools. So maybe
maybe the next generation won't be a bunch of idiots.
But for some reason, that's how we thought about the lotto too. Getting the state lottery, that money, all the money from the lottery was going to be channeled into schools. There was never going to be another referendum about education again.
That's a separate issue because
that
that money never went into schools.
Well, right, but that's the same thing. So we always think, well, what if the government had this money? Maybe
they do something good with it.
Maybe they would go to schools, but somehow it always finds its way into
a pocket.
And so the solution is keep voting them out until we finally get to a place where the people that we're voting in are reasonable people who are actually acting in our best interest.
Mhm.
Right.
Keep voting them out.
Voting.
Keep voting. Keep voting.
Second thing was nobody mentioned, and I think this happened just in the past week. Pope Francis has commented that the church should apologize. The church should apologize to gays for the discrimination over all the years. I just wondered if anybody had anything else about that.
Joe DeGantic was actually very upset about that.
Why?
Hang on, I'm gonna go to it right now.
Personal apology. He wants the Pope to show up, which actually I'm not going to be mad at. The Pope showed up here.
He had a problem with the semantics, and I kind of scolded him a little bit. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Because Joe posts a lot, so it may be
I was impressed.
The headline of the story that I have says, "The world is in awe, but American Christian conservatives are defying even the Pope in their unacceptance of gays." So
there he is.
That's what it said in the headline that I was reading. So I just thought I'd ask, bounce it off of anybody. Anybody hear anything else aside from?
I'm curious about this. Yeah.
Well, the issue that our friend Joe had, he said that the quote is that Pope Francis. Are we Francis?
Yeah.
Pope Francis said, "Someone who has this condition, who has goodwill, and is searching for God, who are we to judge?" And Joe's issue was with the word condition. He says someone who has this condition, being LGBTQ, is not a condition. I think the alphabet soup is a condition, but
yeah.
He
Assign your conditions.
He says with that line, I really don't see this as much of an apology, unless I'm misreading the comments. And so I went and actually read the whole article.
Like you do.
Not just the headline, like you do.
Like you do.
Sometimes people do. They read the beginning,
to
middle,
the
and
end.
the end.
And the end.
And the part of the quote and the part of the conversation that is the apology is he says, I think the church must not only apologize to a gay person it offended, but we must apologize to the poor, to the women who have been exploited, to the children forced into the labor, apologize for having blessed so many weapons, and for having failed to accompany families who face divorce or experienced other problems. So the Pope is really apologizing to everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think the overreaching, the overall message there,
to pick out the semantics,
to pick out the word condition, I think is just dirty pool. That's just shitty.
Yeah,
shitty crybaby.
And
I mean, no offense, I'm not calling Joe a crybaby.
But it's one of those things where now we're now we're at a microaggression.
Right.
The Pope has come out and said, we've wronged you, we should apologize,
right.
But you don't like how he addressed you, so you're not going to take the apology.
Yeah. And unless I'm mistaken, this Pope does not speak English especially well. Like, he may speak English, but I don't think he's...
He may have used the word
Argentinian.
condition.
He may have...
He's an Argentine, so,
so
you're going to start off with Spanish. You're going to get to
his
Latin.
Native language. Right, and so by the time he... because anybody that's spoken, whether they can now or just did in high school, like anybody that's spoken more than one language, it takes a lot of immersion to even begin to try and think in that language.
That's good. That's really good.
But even people that do, like we just passed the 25-year anniversary of course it's about Donna Summer addressing the gay rumors about the homophobia on her part. Mm-hmm. And then she wrote the letter to ACT UP into gay men's health crisis, and all these people, she sent out a blank letter saying, here's what I think, here's what I believe. And then people were like, well, she says sexual preference. She's applying it to choice. No, she's saying,
right.
I was not aware that this rumor was out. I would have addressed it earlier. I just got word that people think this about me. Here's my thoughts on the topic. Bam. If I'm reaching out to you, if you can reach out to me, we'll have a dialogue. If not, this is all I can do is just say, right. I'm sorry if something that someone said I said hurt you. I didn't say it. I don't believe that. But because she used preferences, those people that start nitpicking, I'm like, you got what you wanted.
Right.
Someone
You're
acknowledged
missing
the problem,
apology.
said they never said it, but if you perceive that I did, then please accept my apology and know that I don't feel that way.
Right.
But if you start getting into those microaggressions, then we can never apologize to each other. If we have to go like through the treaties of peace, to be like, well,
God help us.
You know, you called it the Carolinas. Do you mean North or South? Well, I'm apologizing to both of you.
But yeah, so my overall thoughts on the Pope and his comments, and they have been, I think, from the beginning, is that for a man in that difficult and that like reasonably conservative of a role in the world, he is amazingly progressive and open-hearted.
Oh, and you can just watch him pulling the church that way. Of
Absolutely.
Like, your message of love and tolerance
is not.
Can't stay over here on the right. Like, you can't stay over here in bigotry and hate when you're trying to promote
I think this is a man who
acceptance and love.
understands that in order for his faith to continue in the world, it has to move forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It has to stop being for rich white people. It has to move forward.
It has to move forward, and that's why having someone from the New World, the Southern Hemisphere, like, you know what I mean, the less represented people of the world as far as that goes, as far as like Catholics in power.
Whoever was influencing those cardinals this time around, like, I mean,
so
clearly it's God,
he is
but
really,
otherwise,
he's like, we'll just call him the People's Pope. I don't know if anybody else calls him that, but I will. But he seems to be
That's
like
very
of
nice.
the people and really trying to polish the shit turd that is the Catholic Church's image.
Sure.
Shine it up, Frank. Shine it up. All right.
But if you end up at love and tolerance and acceptance and forgiving people, then who cares what banner you're flying?
exactly
You know
right.
what I mean? If that's what you're pushing, then aren't
How
surprise!
stark is
Isn't that
what
what we were all going
Right.
for?
And I think
Right.
that's the great part, because there are so many people that listen to every word and hang on every
Sure.
word
Blindly.
blindly. And I'd rather have them paying attention and listening blindly to that love,
to a man who's preaching love and acceptance,
right?
and
Then any kind, it starts a conversation.
take care of your neighbor.
It's
and-
much like Doma.
Yeah.
I mean, or anything else. There's not.
Have
It
we ever
starts
had-
a conversation.
Have you ever had anybody listening from Jordan?
I feel like yes.
I feel like
yes.
I feel like yes too.
So and there's a
And hello.
Hi,
There is
Jordan.
a woman in Florida. She's in Orlando. She is, and I horrible. I wrote down her name and I forgot. I meant to bring it to be part of the show. She is maybe a city councilwoman in Orlando. I think you're on the right case. She's like the only openly gay member of something.
She's the one that she's the one that was on all the news, isn't she?
Yeah, and Anderson Cooper ended up hugging her because he was so moved by her interview. And so they were being critical of Rubio and all these people that were saying.
Did you hear he said they killed gays so that he would run for the Senate?
Yes.
Shut up! I did
No.
not. know that.
So
Come on.
just prior to that horribleness,
Yeah.
Jesus.
God killed those gay people so that Rubio would run for the Senate. Go ahead.
Oh,
So
Christ.
as she was commenting on all these people who had been, and because Florida has so many anti-LGBT laws and is kind of like not on the right path with all of this till recently,
Yeah, Disney's
and there was
there.
all
What
these
the hell?
thoughts and prayers and all these things, which makes it a fascinating microcosm in politics. It's one of the most fascinating places to study is the Florida dynamic. So she was on Anderson Cooper, and what she said was, even if you do the right thing for the wrong reason, you still did the right thing. So we will champion you. And I was so touched by her reaching back. Like, while everyone was bashing Rubio for standing there after he had passed all these discriminatory laws or helped pass or champion these laws, and all the people in Florida, like the governor not saying homosexual or gay for the bar, but the fact that they were there doing the right thing, and she's like, that's what we have to focus on. And I just thought, I wish I was that good of a person. Like, it gave me like something to really like aspire to, with the thought of like, even if you do the right thing for the wrong reason, we have to acknowledge that you did the right thing.
Right.
And I was like, well, holy shit. I'd rather go to Rage.
It's easier.
Yeah, and
It
Amina
feels
says Rubio
better.
needs a blood sacrifice before a political campaign. Yeah, he's a pig. Oh, wait, and the last bit of political news.
Patty, I can't see her name.
Hearst?
On this, no.
Hearst. Is it your dog?
It's on her. It's on her shirt. It's a picture because I'm not finding anything.
But if you follow politics, and if for any reason you just can't vote for Clinton because you're a Bernie person, please pay attention to the Arizona Senate race with Ann Kirkpatrick and
John McCain.
Because John McCain is currently, for I think the first time, aside from when he ran for president, not leading in the polls.
He's
and there is a
polling
really good
slightly
chance.
under.
Well, let's
So
hope
if, I'm sending because now, sorry, and Annette, turn your headphones off, but Hillary has gotten to me by putting me in a lottery for Hamilton tickets in July if you donate to her campaign, or just log on to her page because no purchase required in the United States and Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I saw that. I may or may not have entered.
I did, and I entered twice, once with money, once without.
Oh, Lord.
What's the point of that except for Hamilton one more time? But
How to vote, John McCain.
But if you don't want to give money to like the Democratic Party because you're afraid it might go to Hillary for some fucking reason that you want to see Trump as president, you can at least give to your local Senate and representatives directly. In Arizona, it's Ann Kirkpatrick, and we have a really good shot as of June 28th, the year of our Lord 2016, to defeat McCain for his Senate seat. Or he could lose in the primary to a Tea Party person.
Let's hopeful. I'd be all about that.
I kind of don't want to see him primaried out. I kind of want to see him lose in a general.
I want to see him lose outright, too.
I agree. That's true.
Because we still live in Arizona. Like, there's that Tea Party son of a bitch.
Yeah, but I think I think the Tea Party person's on the line of, I'm not a witch, I'm you. Oh, I liked it better when you were a witch, bitch. Remember her? Christine O'Donnell.
Like to be a witch.
I'm not a witch, I'm you. And I was like, ah, no, she's me. How did that happen?
Yeah, no,
what kind of
you're
shapeshifter
not.
bullshit is this?
It's fantastic.
You got your thoughtful ready?
He's been a senator since 1987.
Did Nant have
Yeah,
something?
and a U.S. representative since like 81 or 82. He's been in Congress for 34, 5 years.
That's too many.
Almost longer than I've been alive.
Almost.
Christ.
Sure, let's do bullshit.
Are we doing bullshit?
Bullshit.
Oh, I wasn't ready for bullshit. All right. What are we doing?
Marnie, bullshit. You just traveled the country. You got to have something.
Unacceptance. Unacceptance. Like just and I'm going to say for me, I'm not just speaking of other people. For me as well, because I had a very low tolerance for a number of different seemingly hating species. You know, so yeah, unacceptance. Yeah, I just call absolute bullshit. There are things we don't understand. There are things that we're not comfortable with. There are things that we just don't like.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not implying that they were wrong or that we're wrong in any of that. But this was just a pure and simple where people saw you and that fast were just and rude. Yeah. So unacceptance and rude behavior. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. That's what I'm gonna call.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Guns, guns, guns.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay.
That's fair.
May seem trivial, but it was a point of contention in my trip back home to Missouri. Some of the largest corporations in the country that you subscribe to, you rent from, you partake in their services and whatnot.
Pornhub.com.
It's just really interesting to me that signage and just customer service in some cases, and I have not sent my review in of my rental car experience with this company yet, but it's a billion fucking degrees. Tulsa's airport does have construction, and I get that, but signage, and why would you ever close on a Thursday? Why would you ever close the kiosk in the parking lot where you go to get your car? Why would you close it? Oh, it closes at 5 on Thursdays. Why? And where's the sign that says, don't go to the parking lot? I was just so fucking irritated because three times I had to walk from the airport, and it's a football field. The length of a football field out, back in.
And it's hot.
Then I was told on a video conference phone, oh, you're perfectly fine, Mr. McKee. You're ready to go. Walk back out. Nope, walk back in. And when I walked back in, that man was like, sir, we're going to take you next. And I'm like, nope, you take these fine people. Literally, there were people in front of me, and I was like, you take these fine people first. And all of them were like, oh, no, you go ahead. And he just handed me the keys, and he's like, we're sorry. I'm like, and I didn't say a word, and I just walked away. But it just was irritating that somebody didn't pull their head out of their ass and figure out, somebody's not going to understand this. This is going to be inconvenient. And I don't know. Maybe I'm being petty. I just was very annoyed with somebody who's a major corporation doesn't figure out, how do we help people?
Yeah,
don't put signs up. Don't tell them what's going on. It just was annoying as shit to me.
I'll go on the back of that because I'm about to enter the land of service fees and excise taxes and tourist fees and 911 surcharges. Just charge the fucking price and call it a day. Don't itemize that thing down 9 million different ways and act like the car you rented me was $59.99.
Right.
When 4 days was $600. Sure. Because you don't list all of these fees that you're going to tack on. Yeah. Something's wrong.
Right. Well, I think the reason they do have to itemize, I'm sure that there was a lawsuit somewhere that said, I mean, granted, the car rental, $59.99.
Most of that is because it varies from location to location.
Oh, no, I get all that. But I agree with what you're saying. Just tell me the car's $78 a day.
Yeah.
You
And
can
we'll all
break
get
it
along.
down.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You can write it down in a letter to yourself.
But the reason Enterprise does that is because then they can advertise nationally that you're getting the car for $30 a day. However, when you fly to Niagara Falls, you have these fees. But when you fly to Phoenix, you have these fees. And they differ
Yeah.
everywhere.
But I told them
That's
where I was
why.
going. Just tell me what the price is. What's the price at that location? Don't tell me it's $59.99 if it's really $110.
Right. I agree with
Because
that.
it's not.
I agree.
Yeah, that price ain't right.
Was that your bullshit, or do you have something else, Alan?
That is my bullshit.
That
I'm
was
just
your
going to tack
bullshit?
onto that because I'm about to enter that land of looking at those bills and getting annoyed.
Okay.
Just have a drink. It'll be fine.
All right. Well, as we
It's
get
just money.
as we wrap up our excise tax segment, we'll go into this one, and it's our final one of tonight's show.
And now, thoughtful vulgarity, where we in the studio try to make ourselves slightly less shallow, which is not hard to do. We will ask one question of the panel while fucked up drunk, because you know at home how well it goes when important questions come up several hours after alcohol has been served. Politics, religion, why not? What could possibly go wrong? Who could you offend? Good luck.
For the record, we have not collectively been fucked up drunk in quite some time on this show. So I think season 5.
That's a good
Yeah.
In the early part of season 5, we need to kick off an evening and have a full one. Just so you know. All right.
Have a full one.
Tune in season 5, August.
I think we should make daiquiris.
I think we
could
should
do
have
that.
moonshine.
Could more moonshine. Got it. All right. Alfie, what's our question?
I was answering a question online. What is it like? What's your favorite summer memory? Like, what's the thing?
Fireflies.
Oh, that's a good one.
I saw them when I was just home.
Specifically, like it was an evening of fireflies. You enjoyed a chili cookout where the fireflies were.
That was in 2004 chili cook-off. No, just being back home and it, having just been back in Michigan, which was close-ish. To Minnesota, it was just one of those things. The smell of the grass, running outside and playing, catching fireflies. It just takes me back to being a kid and the innocence of it and the fun. You're not hurting anything. You know, you try to catch them, but you were always so gentle, and it didn't matter who it was that was going after him. It was always you were so fascinated with them. I don't know. I just It reminded me of being a kid, and I just loved it. I just loved it. So nothing in particular, because it happened all the time when I was little.
Aaron says I thought I was pretty smashed after Thoughts and Prayers, and that's what I said too. When he's saying we hadn't been drunk in a while, I was like, wow.
Yeah, it all blurs together.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I lived in Firefly Land, I was kind of a firefly murderer. We used to smash them and paint shit with them.
Wow.
And paint shit with them?
Yeah, because if you smush them, then their guts you can like write
fluorescent.
messages on your hands and it'll glow for like an hour.
Yeah.
I
story.
had never seen a firefly in real
I've
life.
not done it, but I've seen it done, and that's a factual story.
I was a kid. We lived in like.
She's like the Jeffrey Dahmer firefly.
It's true.
It's a sign. It's one of those signs you
It
look
is
for.
one of those signs. We lived in Podunk, middle of nowhere, Illinois, for like a summer.
Because you couldn't get
when
paint?
I was like 10. No, we'd never seen fireflies
I'm just
before.
kidding.
We didn't know what they were,
Right.
and we were clearly accustomed to mass murdering insects.
Not just with windshields.
Not just with windshields. No, we would just stomp them out, or we would get we would use my eyeglasses actually work as a magnifier that I can start fires with. God love being the four-eyed kid.
Right? Wow.
That's a true story. I can actually do that with my glasses.
Fantastic.
Favorite summer memory, I'm going to go with, and it may not be favorite, but it's a very nice one. I'm going to go with Music Fest. It happens in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania every year. And it is a giant but small town at the same time music street festival where they close down most of downtown Bethlehem, and it's the town where Bethlehem Steel used to be. So at the time it was a very depressed area. I understand it's coming back, but so they closed down like the city blocks and they've got all the fair vendors and it's kind of like Pride, but the best part of it is all of the music, because every 28 steps is a new stage with a new act and a new somebody, and they have like genres, you know what I mean? They've got like the polka music over here, and they've got the salsa music over there, and you know, they've got big headliners that come in for it at night that of course you have to pay extra for, and we were poor, so we would just listen from far away.
Like you do.
Yeah, and it's in August. Every year it's still happening, and it's god-awful hot and humid there in August. It's the worst time of year to be outside ever.
Bless you.
Let it out, Alfie. Let it out.
And we have pictures of Sharon and I just sunburnt from being outside all day, and you could just see that we had been sweating all day. Like, you could just see how gross we are and probably how drunk we are.
But having a good time.
But having an amazing time with just all the music and dancing in the street and all of that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Some of you aren't going to get this at all. Way back, probably late 70s and maybe early 80s, there was a time when all of my family used to come together in a field. We had horses and cattle. So one of the things that we would always do in the summer was we would, I used to call it haying and baling is what I called it as a kid, but that my grandfather would drive the truck that's parked across the street. All of my aunts and cousins, we would all go to whatever field that we had bought the hay from, and we would load the truck with the hay and drive it back home to stock the barn for the winter, the upcoming winter. So in the summer, that's when you bale hay, when it grows. So those summertime memories of how much fun it was we worked like sons of bitches.
Yeah.
When we were little, but my mom was throwing 60-pound bales of hay off of a truck, and it was just all of us together, and it was so much fun. And then after it was all over, Grandma had spent half the day prepping everything. So then you're hot and you're done, and you unload everything, and it's all over. And then you set out on the big back porch with all of the fireflies, and then the picnic tables and all, and you just ate, and everybody was together, and it was just always so much fun for that day. And it was a big weekend, and sometimes it took us 2 days to do it all, but it was just a good time, and I loved everybody being together. For that. It didn't seem nearly as humid back in Missouri then as it does now to me. I think that's a 40-year add-on to my age.
Yeah, and we've been living in central air for a long time, so like.
Well, and in Arizona, regardless, it's just dry.
You just don't find that you don't do a lot outdoors during that. Mine would be when back on 60th Street when we would usually Memorial Day weekend, or if it was a typical time, it'd be like July before it got warm enough. But we would empty the neighbor's above ground pool that they all winter long, they threw plastic bleach bottles in and car tires so that it wouldn't freeze and damage, that it couldn't freeze solid.
Right.
And damage the lining.
About that. Yeah.
But we would put the pump down into the pool, 5-foot pool, put the pump down, everybody would get together, all of us in our bathing suits. My father would have the beer, be in charge of the beer, and he'd be supervising it, and what the fuck, Alfie, Mrs. Callan would be giving orders to us, and all of us would like hand bail out, and we the pump came later. When we were little, we would bucket brigade the pool out of the dirty, filthy, slimy water, and then you would jump in the pool in winter boots and with scrub brushes and Clorox and
clean the pool.
And clean the filter, get it down to clean and shiny, and you had to keep rinsing off the wall, but you couldn't rinse too much because whatever you rinsed in had to be bucketed out.
Right.
And we would spend the whole day, and we did it every summer till I think we did it the summer I left too, like up until I was 19. I think that's one of the last things I did was we cleaned out Angeline's pool and
prepped it for summer.
The families
so I'm
and all the
hearing
kids
a lot about
got
child labor.
Yeah, but it was so much fun. And then the best part was after that whole day, and I would always slip and fall, even as I got older, I would always slip and fall into like the sunken middle part of the pool that was a little bit deeper. I would somehow always manage to be in the green shitty water Clorox bleach that was left. And then when it was all done and my father would say that was enough, the pool was clean, it was time to fill it, we would get rafts, and you would lay on the bottom of the pool.
On the raft.
Because we would start so early because my family was in charge. So this was like a sun up kind of business.
Right.
So we'd be done by like 2 or 3 o'clock, and then you would just float on the rafts till the pool started to fill, till you were in like 2 or 3 feet of water, and we would all like just sit around and drink. When I got older, then I could be part of the cocktails, and we would just drink and float to the top, and it was like a big thing for the 2 families and all of us together, and just laughing and screaming and listening to music, and singing along and arguing whether the Queen was the greatest band ever or was it Styx, and
Right.
Alfie had to have a couple Donna Summer songs in
Clearly
there.
it's
And
Styx.
yeah, but I mean, you would just have the radio. You would have the
Clearly,
radio
yeah.
blast, and there was no boom boxes yet for a lot of it. It was just the radio playing the hits
Yeah.
of the summer and everybody deciding what their
And
favorite
it was
song
always
was. And
such a great surprise of what would come up next.
what would come up next,
Because
even
it
though
wasn't like back in, right around in, was it the 80s where it started? Kind of a...
everybody was
a
on
loop.
that they were using that same tape and they were all playing it. Like
Right.
that Roxanne always went into hot
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah, you
exactly.
knew.
You kind of knew what was coming up, but
Yeah,
when
because-
we were much younger, like you didn't. You were just like, oh my god. This is
That
so
was
fun.
that was an FM radio thing where they started buying the pre-packaged collection. So
and they
one
called
song,
them clocks. It was at 5 after you played a current, then you played an oldie, then you'd play a mid. They would. It was all that charted out.
Yeah.
And you played.
But
But when
I-
I was in, it, you played it by. It was a color coded thing.
Oh, but this was all current hits. There was never an old like
Oh, I
nothing.
like that.
When I
nothing
say
older.
oldie, I mean no more than 2 years old. is
Right.
what
Oh yeah, I
mean.
mean this would maybe go back a couple months to something that was fading off the charts, but they certainly wouldn't play.
Oh, no, I'm talking oldies.
Oh, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I just mean something that's not immediate
The
top 40.
immediate current.
Oh
right.
no, this
Right.
this was all like music of that minute. Like it was all a new song and what was being overplayed. So you knew every third song one summer was going to be Betty Davis. So like, no matter what happened.
Kim Carnes.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, oh
Yeah.
my god. And My Sharona like dominated
Sure,
a summer.
sure.
So I mean, there was just so much fun with our families as I'm going back to visit them, and we still all get together.
You going
And-
to clean a pool this time too?
No, the pool's gone.
Oh,
because what the
damn.
fuck, Elfie? The first time she ever said that to me as an adult was just like, hottest fucking summer in history, Elfie, and the pool's gone. We took it down last year because nobody wanted to come over and clean it.
no.
She's like, what the
'Cause you
what
moved
the
away.
fuck?
You left.
Because you moved away.
It's fantastic.
Alrighty, well, I think that does it. That wraps it. Season 4 is in the bag. For those of you paying attention, we will be back August 2nd. We are taking the month of July off. We all
That's
have
your warning. Find
things to
something to
do.
Good night, Anan.
The show will be on repeat.
Steve, I wish there was a cliffhanger we could leave you with.
Will Al clean
Well,
a
we
pool?
will see you.
No.
How does it end? I don't know.
Even though we won't be seeing you until August of this year, we will leave you with this parting thought. All of us together, we will see you next Tuesday!
Thank you all.